Life 1 Hopeless Life. The year 1992. In the month of April 1992, on the 16th day, a boy was born. He had brown hair and golden eyes. He was quiet when he was born. As his mother held him in her arms, she released a few tears of happiness looking at her child. After 2 miscarriages, she had given up hope to bear children, and now her wish had come true. She carried him full term, and he was completely healthy and perfectly fine. She gave birth to him on time, and her birth was as smooth as can be. This was Issei Hyoudou. She looked at her husband Issei Hyoudou, who had a soft smile on his face. Mickey tearing up, "Dear, look, our baby boy." "Guro, I see, my dear, you did well." He gave her a kiss on the head and gently took their son from her. He had a smile on his face. He looked at the smile on her face and matched it. "Guro, now I want you to rest. It has been a long day. Rest, I'll handle the rest for now, my dear." She meekly smiled at him, slowly closed her eyes, and drifted to sleep. He placed the baby into the bedside cot. "Guro, Issei Hyoudou, welcome to the world, my son. May your life always be full of excitement and joy." When they brought him home, their neighbors came to visit. They were known as the Hyoudous. They were good family friends with the Hyoudous, and they were expecting their own child later that year. They saw Issei and congratulated the both of them on becoming parents and wished them luck. Later that year, on the 29th of September, Mrs. Hyoudou gave birth to a healthy child that had hair that matched their own with their father's violet eyes. The child was a happy baby, and when the Hyoudous saw their friend's child, they were happy for their friends. It was the day Issei met his first best friend. During their younger years, they were always together and were always the happiest when they saw each other. From Bobbies to 5-year-olds, they were always happy playing games with each other, to even buying sweets with money they saved up together, even though Hyoudou, as Issei called him, would use most of the money on sweets Issei didn't like. But that didn't change how they saw each other. One day, Issei was sitting with his parents at the dinner table. "Issei, Mom, Dad." They looked at him and smiled. "Guro, what's wrong, my boy?" "Issei, how did you know you loved each other?" They were shocked, to say the least. They didn't think he would ask such a question yet. "Mickey, well, it's different for everyone, my child. I knew I loved your father when I woke up next to him, and I was beyond happy, and my heart was filled with joy that I had him in my life." She smiled, and Guro took her hand and rubbed it with his other. "Guro, I knew I loved her when she accepted me for who I was. I had my flaws, and she looked past them, and now look, we have been together since. It's not just a feeling, Issei, it's the actions that count, and they will always speak louder than words." "Mickey, do you understand?" Issei, "Yes." "Guro, are you in love?" Issei, "I don't know. I see you and Mom, and I wanted to know." He shrugged his shoulders and had a very curious face. While looking at them, they had a chuckle from his curiosity. A similar topic came up with the Hyoudous, and their reaction was different. Hyoudou had stated that they were iterated and wanted to marry when they grew up, and it surprised their parents by their statement. But they wanted better for them. There was nothing wrong with who they liked, but they wanted best for their child. After that night, both Issei and Hyoudou started to see each other less as the days went on. Their parents wanted her home more, and there were days when he didn't see them at all. Even at school, they seemed fine, but he noticed something was off. "Issei, hey, are you okay?" Hyoudou smiling, "Yes, I'm fine. Why?" "Issei, it's just I see you less, and I miss you when I don't see you." Hyoudou, "Everything is fine. Want to come over to play some games?" Issei, "Happy, sure." They ran to her house and started playing TV games. Little did they know that life had other plans for them. That same day, while at Hyoudou's house, Issei was suddenly picked up by Hyoudou's father, and then taken outside, then dropped off by his doorstep, and then waited for Mickey to open up. And when she did, he handed Issei to her, then ran off. She quickly looked outside and saw Hyoudou's mother busy packing a taxi with bags. And then once that was done, the family of 3 got in and drove off. Mickey, confused, "Issei, what happened?" "I don't know. I was playing TV games with Hyoudou, then Uncle picked me up." He looked confused, but also looked guilty, thinking he did something when he didn't. Mickey saw the guilt in his eyes, and it caused her to start to get angry and suspicious of what actually happened. "Mickey, disappointed, just go to your room and finish or start your homework, all right?" Issei said, "Okay." He walked up to his room and then started his homework. Later that night, when his father came home, Mickey told Guro what happened, and he quickly ran over to the house and saw that it was empty and there was nothing. He came back looking more confused than ever. "Mickey, I hate to say it, but I think Issei did something. When Taoji brought him, he didn't say anything, but he looked troubled and also panicked." "Guro, but what could he have done to make a whole family move just like that?" "Mickey, I'm not sure, but the guilt was written all over his face, and I don't buy his story. He said he was just playing TV games with Irina, then Taoji picked him up and brought him here." "Guro, I'm too tired for this. Issei, get down here now." Issei quickly came running downstairs. He's never heard his father shout before, so he was scared, to say the least. He'd never been in serious trouble before. "Guro, serious, tell me what happened at that house today." Issei, scared. "I was playing TV games with Hyoudou and then uncle picked me up and brought me home." He could see it in his eyes. There was a guilt something happened. Guro grabbed his arm, took his belt and beat Issei till he couldn't walk. While he cried, he tried to crawl away, but it only got him hit again. Guro, angry, "What did you do that made them bring you here? I don't believe your bullshit story." Issei, crying, "I didn't do anything." Whack! Guro hit him again and he let out another loud scream of pain. And he got a few more hits. He just lay on the ground crying. So many emotions ran through his mind, sadness and confusion. It sparked a memory in his mind about his father. He tried to go to his mother, but she just walked away from him. It broke his heart seeing her not want to help. He was left on the ground. He then just pulled himself up and struggled to get to his room. As he got back to his room, he laid on his bed heartbroken. He didn't know what he did wrong and his parents were mad at him. This was the start of Issei's downfall in his life. He tried art and showed his parents some drawings, and they didn't pay him any attention. When it came to the artwork, they brushed it off and didn't even show an interest. After seeing that they didn't take notice of it, he tired soccer and he was good at it. He was on the first team. He noticed his parents took a small interest in it and then tried hard to be the best, and when he was the reason his team won a few games in a row, but his parents never showed up to a game. They dropped him off and left him alone. He was confused why they stopped taking an interest in what he was doing anymore. He stopped participating in the games, and then he mentioned that he wanted to try the music, and his mother and father both looked surprised, and then they signed him up for music lessons and instrument lessons. He learned how to sing and learned from the teacher that he's a natural singer, because he was able to hit a few notes that not even the other kids could reach, and they focused on teaching him instruments. He got really good at playing piano and guitar, both electric and acoustic. He was happy with his progress, and when he had a night that was about him performing for the school one night, he then hoped his mother and father would be there. But after he played and sang well for the audience he went backstage, but only his teacher was there. He walked outside and saw the car arrive, and his father was the only one in the car. His father wasn't dressed, and his mother was nowhere to be seen. He got into the back seat and the drive was quiet. He didn't even get an "I'm proud" or "congratulations" anything. This was a big moment for him, but again, it wasn't seen by his parents. They didn't care about it at all. When he got home, there was a plate of food on the table for him, and then his father just went to bed. He ate dinner alone. He looked at his gift for performing so well, and it was a bit of money. He felt a sense of accountability. He did this for himself, and it was a good feeling for himself. Not every 11-year-old could have done this as he did. One day, while walking to school, he saw something that made him feel a rush of heat spread around his body, and there was a feeling around his body. It was a poster of a woman on the side of a building next to a vending machine with a different woman on it, and he felt a feeling he hadn't felt in a long time, a feeling of purpose as he felt it. He used some of his money and bought the magazine from the vending machine and then put the magazine into his bag and ran home. Once he got home, he started looking at it, and his heart was racing with the feeling of this rush. He loved it so much he noticed that it started to feel warm and stiff. He touched it, and it felt different. This was the start of the biggest regret he made at the age of 11. He continued with this. It gave him so much pleasure that he didn't want to stop. It made him feel better, made him feel empowered. As the years went on, his mother and father saw what he was doing, and to his surprise, they started to take a part of his life. It got a reaction out of them. He continued to get worse into it. What he didn't know was his depletion on his mind, the black hole that would have turned into motivation and success, turned into depression and failure. He continued to live this lifestyle, not accomplishing anything that he can be proud of. He doesn't even have friends that will have his back when he needs. These two are just as lustful as he's, but yet nothing more than that. When he found out that they don't even know when his birthday is, but yet he knows theirs. On his 15th birthday, his grandmother came to visit him for his birthday. "Granny, my child, how are you? Are you excited to be going to high school next year?" Issei, "I'm all right, Granny. It's nice to see you again, and I don't know yet." He gave her a hug and she messed up his hair. He watched her look around for his parents, but neither of them were around. "Granny," concerned, "where are your parents?" Issei, "Oh, I don't know. They don't really celebrate my birthday anymore. They are never around on this day." "Granny, what nonsense. Come, we can go and spend the day together." He went to go and get dressed and they went shopping. She bought him some new clothes and they went for ice cream as well. "Granny, now my little newt, can you tell me why they aren't around anymore?" Issei, I don't know, it started so long ago I don't know to remember the fine details, but I think I did something to our family friends, and that led to them getting angry towards me when I don't really remember doing anything in particular that would get me in trouble. He took a deep breath and took another spoon of his ice cream. She could see the hopelessness in his eyes embedded with anger, confusion, even sadness and guilt, a whole spectrum of emotions running through his mind. Granny, well, I guess I'm going to need to have a talk with them when I get a chance. Issei, don't worry about it, Granny, thanks for today, it was nice. Smiles. She gave him a soft smile. She could see he'd been neglected not physically, but emotionally. That day Issei went to bed feeling better, and that night he indulged in his favorite pastime. Things continued like this for the rest of the year. He tried his luck with girls, but it didn't look good. He was either rejected on the spot or just ignored entirely. Then the worst one was when he was made a fool of by all the kendo girls, and then they beat him up. During the Christmas of 2008, he looked towards the sky and made a wish. Issei, I want this life to end. He went to bed and nothing changed. He stopped hanging out that much with his friends and found his time at school would be better without them. He didn't touch his phone and just stayed in his room during the time he was at home, and just sat alone at school enjoying the peacefulness of what could have been a good life if he put in the effort. Present time. It's early morning in Ku, and we find Issei waking up with an irritable expression looking at his alarm clock. Issei, deep breath, it's going to be a long day, isn't it? He raised his hand, touched the clock, and watched it speak. Anime girl, cute voice, if you don't get up, mister, I won't dance for you anymore, humph. The character crossed its arms under its large melons and looked away from him. Issei clicked, his tongue rolled over onto his back and looked at the ceiling and looked into the abyss of his roof covered in posters of. Issei, what am I doing with my life? What am I going to do after high school is done? This stuff in my room isn't getting me anywhere in life, and it's doing me no good. He just looked at the woman on his roof and then got out of bed and took it down and started with the other posters and rolled them up and took a box out of his cupboard and put them in there. And he put the super lewd figures he had and wrapped them in some cloth and put them in the box along with the DVDs and Isekai mangas in the box. As well, he collected everything that he had and packed it into one box. Issei, I think that's all of it. All the magazines are in there too. I think I could find a buyer and sell it all, maybe get most of the money back even if it's not much. I don't need it if I'm going to get my life together. I don't need it. I'll find interest in other things, but for now let's start with going cold turkey. He took a picture of the box, listed it for sale, and said that he's in need to get rid of it all ASAP. He then got dressed, took a deep breath, and cleared his head. He then took the clock and threw it in with the rest of the stuff. He then looked at the spot where it was and saw some cologne that he had given a few years ago. Issei, how I thought I lost that. Who gave it to me though? I think it was Granny, must be her. He shrugged his shoulders and brushed his hair and sprayed a little by his neck and both sides of his chest, and then once on his wrist, then rubbed them together. He could smell the scent starts to fill his nose as he was breathing. He was smelling good, really good. It smelt rich and sweet at the same time. Issei, well, it's a start, but I need to figure out other things to get a better look at life and make the right choice for myself. This was a good start, but let's see what happens next. Baby steps, don't need to make any rash decisions. He left his room and walked downstairs to make himself coffee, and that's when his mother walked in to see him. Mickey, morning Issei, you look nice for a change. She looked really surprised to see the change in him and didn't expect him to be looking like this. He looked cleaned up for a change. Issei, I decided to change a few things. I want to try something new, but I don't know what yet. Garo, why not do what you used to do as a child, play sports and even play instruments? Issei, good idea. When I get paid for the crap upstairs, then maybe I can buy myself a guitar or piano or something. I need to go to school. He quickly washed his cup and left the house, leaving both his parents in shock and surprise. They went to his room and saw that the stuff had been taken down and placed in a box, and his computer screen showed the stuff for sale. Mickey, confused, did our prayers finally get answered and our brat is changing? Garo, confused, I sure hope so, but this looks like a good start, and I smell the cologne Mom got him when he turned 15. With Issei, he stopped at a 7-Eleven and bought a toothbrush and some gum. Issei, disinterested, mock it up to the list of things that can go wrong today. How did I forget to brush my teeth? Well, I know why, but still dang. He used the toothbrush and brushed his teeth and then put a few tabs of gum in his mouth and then threw away the toothbrush, then continued with his walk to school. Once he got to school, He just went to the class and sat at his desk and looked out the window awaiting class to start so he can get home and think about his next move in life. Hey Issei, we found a new spot, you want to go and peep with us? Issei turned to his so-called friend Madohama. There was a shine in his eyes. He moved his eyes to his other friend Matsuda, who had a smug look on his face. Matsuda, come on home, Slice. The spot is almost perfect for all three of us to check out the babes. Issei, deep breath, go without me, I'm not feeling it today. Madohama, you're lost then. The two ran away with the most lustful faces that would disturb anyone who didn't already know about it or what they were like. Issei, not worth it anymore. The day went without incident, and the day was enjoyable and went on without issue. He got a notification that someone wanted all his things. He told them that he would meet them later on with all the things, and they agreed. He then got ready to leave and started walking to the exit of the school. Just as he was about to reach the gate, a sharp pain shot through his back and he hit the ground. He then grabbed the spot where the pain hit him and turned around and saw the kendo girls looking more angry than normal. Issei, in pain, what the hell? Kade's angry, don't shit with us, we found your camera in your peephole and now you're going to pay for it. The rest of the girls pulled out their bamboo swords and all started beating down on him. When he tried to run away, they caught him and beat him harder. When they were finished, they left him on the ground covered in blood and ruined clothes, and he was in just a mess. He looked at the blood on his hands and tears started to form in his eyes. Issei holding back the tears, I didn't even go today, *, sniff, I didn't do anything. He couldn't hold back the tears anymore and cried a little and slowly forced himself to get up and walk with a limp back to his home. Unknown to him, he was seen by two girls sitting by a window. Who is that boy? His name is Issei Hyoudou. He's known as a pervert, but I can confidently say that nothing actually happened with him today. I pity him, his past actions seem to have bit him back today. Issei made it home and just pushed himself to get rid of his things. His parents weren't home yet, so they didn't see the state he was in. He took the box and made a quick walk to the pickup point, and he was met with the man, and they made the transaction as professional as possible. And once the man was happy with what was inside the box, he shook Issei's hand, gave him the money, and left without a care in the world. Issei walked back home and just went to the bathroom and ran a cold bath for him. He sat in it and let his body try and settle and calm down and let the adrenaline run out of his body. He looked at his body and saw the bruises around his body. He touched the side of his face, and when he looked at his hand, there was some blood still on his hands. The water started turning a rust color from his blood. Running in the water, tears started forming in his eyes again. Issei tearing up, I guess this is life coming back to bite me because of all the things I did before * sniff, it can only get better, right? He had a sad smile on his face after his bath. He looked at the cut on his face and saw the massive bruise around his eye and the cut coming from his cheek to his temple. He used some sanitizer to clean the wound best he could, then dried it out and hope it would look better in the morning. He then got dressed in some comfy clothing and sat down to eat dinner. His mother. Mickey, how was your day, Issei? She showed some concern, but it's been the same amount that both his parents have shown over the years towards him. It wasn't different then. It's not different now. Issei, it was fine. I made a lot of money today. I put it into savings to build some more money as an investment for later, and I want to find something I can put a small investment in so it can grow more. He took some food and slowly ate it. Goruro, and what do you plan to do with it when all is said and done? Issei, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe I go into accounting or something. I read somewhere computer science seems promising for the future as a lifetime profession. I'm not sure yet. Nowadays, there's a lot of everything and there aren't any jobs in demand anymore since computers are starting to make their stronghold on everything. So I'm currently looking into it. I have a year and 8 months before I finish school, so I'm looking into a stable profession that will be in demand long enough so I can make some good money and live a happy life alone. Mickey, what do you mean alone? His mother had a face of worry and disapproval. Issei, girls are too stuck up and full of crap to even bother with right now, so I am going to work on myself, build my life, and live alone. It's better than putting in the effort for someone I am probably going to forget in the next month or two. He took the last bite of his food, took his plate, cleaned it up, and went to his room again, leaving his parents speechless. Once in his room, he sat on his bed and started meditating to calm his mind. He didn't want to end tonight with negativity and sadness, so he cleared his head. And after 30 minutes, he then got ready to get into bed and realized these sheets were still dirty from his previous night of fun. He took the sheets and blankets off and then went to the linen cupboard and took fresh sheets and made his bed and went to sleep, actually feeling comfy with himself with a sense of peace for a change. The next day, he woke up a bit earlier than he normally would. He looked at his phone and saw it's 5:30 in the morning. He got out of bed and made it up and finished the last of his homework. Once he finished, he decided to look up some exercises he can do in the morning to wake his body up and found doing a few stretches and warm-ups will help. And he did just that. He did a few arm stretches and some leg raises, and did 5 sit-ups and 5 push-ups. Then he quickly went to the bathroom. Ice shower and brush his teeth, then got ready. With his wet hair, it was a bit easier to style a bit, and he used some of his dad's gel and put it in his hair. It stayed back and looked neat. He then went to his room and put on the cologne he found. The smell brought him some comfort and actually relaxed him, which surprised him a bit. Issei, I need to ask Granny where she got this for me. I want more. He buttoned up his shirt and then put on his blazer and went downstairs and made a quick breakfast. He made egg on toast with some chili sauce, and once he was done, he left for the school to start the day. Issei, hopefully the student council has some activities that still have open vacancies that I can participate in. He made it to the school, and the bruises and cut on his face were fully shown for everyone to see, and his limp didn't go unnoticed. It surprised the kendo girls that he was here early. They saw the change in his hair, but bruises on his face along with the cuts and the limp in his walk was proof of how bad they actually beat him. Murayama, concerned, you think we went a little too far when we beat him? I mean, look at him, he looks like a mess. Akia, I have an idea. Why not go and see where he's going? He could be setting up another camera and then we can decide. I mean, why else would he come here this early? Kades, you're right, let's go see. The 3 got up and followed him and saw he went to the student council room. Murayama, scared, you don't think he's going to complain about the last beating, do you? Akia, don't be worried, it's a 90% girls' school. Even if they did want to take the case up, we would win because we found the camera. Murayama, that still doesn't fix what we did to him. They could see it on her face. She was genuinely concerned about what they did to him. Kades, just quiet down and let's listen. As Issei walked into the student council room, he was met with a few looks from both the whole student council and a few other members, 4 including Ria's Gremorys, Akino Himejima, and Kaneko Taojo, and Hyoudou Kiba. Issei Hyoudou, what may we help you with? He limped closer to her, which didn't go unnoticed by them. As he got closer, they could see the bruises and cuts on his face and going lower to his neck, and saw some on his hands. They could only imagine how much more he had. Issei, I'm wondering if you have any after-school activities that have open spots that I can join, please. * awkward smile. Sona, oh sure, take a seat here and I'll get them for you. He sat down and he noticed they were still all looking at him. Issei, awkward, is everything okay? Kaneko, the resident pervert, is covered in bruises and cuts with a limp. Wouldn't you expect us to be curious? Issei, oh, I don't know either. I was walking home and the kendo girls attacked me, saying I placed a camera to peep at them. Tsubaki, given the normal reports about you still seem to be correct, but from your end seems like there is more to tell. Would you like to finish the report? Issei, what's there to say? This school wouldn't even take my side even if I said otherwise, so I'm not going to fight it. I just want to change my life around while I still have some sort of control of a few things, and this seems like a good start. It shocked all of them when he said that. Sona, but still, we would like the full story to finish the report. Issei, fine. The other 2 asked if I wanted to peep with them. I said no, and pretty much just didn't bother with it entirely. Then yesterday, when I was about to leave, they attacked me, saying I left a camera to peep on them. First off, I don't own a camera, nor do I have the money to even buy one, and secondly, they always beat me and target me because the other 2 would either hit me down or leave me to take the punishment afterwards, hence why I didn't want to peep. That's all on my end. Sona, thank you for coming forth with this. We will take it from here. Issei, by any chance, is there anything that could help me with skills for the future? Sona, I'll take a look. She went to start looking for some documents for him to take a look at. Riaz, what do you wish to pursue in the future? Issei, I really haven't thought about, if I'm being honest. I was thinking of something that would get me by, but in the long run, I feel like something with get me fired. Because of something I haven't done, I just want to work to live a good life by myself. Sona, interesting. I must say we have a few universities and colleges pamphlets as well if you would like to take a few. She placed the small stack of papers on the desk and took out a few pamphlets for a few university alongside the open places for some activities. Issei, while not much to really pick from, well, it's a given. It is nearly the middle of the year already. Sona, what brought on this change in you? Your hair is neat on top of smelling quite nice to top it off as well. Issei, while looking through documents. Well, I woke up yesterday realizing I turned 17 and I have nothing to show for in my life. No amazing academic achievements, no good or real friends. And put the money in trust to start making an interest, so I can start living off that one day. Then I know I have something to fall back on if getting a job doesn't work out, and I plan to try and leave the house as soon as I turn 18 and cut ties with them and just leave somewhere. Aquino, that's a lot. So yesterday was your birthday. Issei on the nose, and the only gift I got was a beating from the kendo girls and not even a phone call from family, so I want my life together and try and find happiness. Hey look, the orc has open spots. I'll put that aside. Maybe myths and legends will be cool to research. He took the page and placed it aside. Kiba, so your parents didn't even wish you. Issei reading the next document. Nope, not at all. It has been the same since I was small. No love, no nothing. I greet and pull my weight around the house with cleaning and sometimes cooking, but in other words, we don't really talk. It's just the basic how was your day, then get made fun of or accused, and I find myself in my room alone. Been like that for 10 years of my life, so I guess that's it. Life sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. We adapt and change to live on. Oh, I think I'll take this. He took another document out and placed it aside, and then took a look at the university pamphlets. Sona, I'm sorry you had a life like that. I wouldn't pin you to live like that. Issei, no, I'm sorry. I'm the pathetic one complaining when I know others have it worse. Life goes on, and I'll join the music group if it's possible. Saji, you play dude. Issei, yeah, I used to, even played some sports, but it didn't work. My parents didn't notice, so I gave it up. I may be rusty, but maybe I can still play a few songs, so I'd like to sign up for the music group, please. He handed the document to Sona and she signed him up for it. He got up with a bit of wobble in his leg and bowed, then walked with his limp to the door and left. Saji, I know I'm a bit slow with stuff like this, but we all saw it right in the last thread. Riaz, yes, you could see it on his face. He needed to talk to someone about it with no judgment and to just listen to him vent. Kaneko, maybe he's not as bad as he seems to be. With Issei, he walked to the music room and found a few of the members busy putting the instruments away for the after checkup. Girl, hello, can we help you, Issei? Issei, hi, I signed up for the music group this morning. I wanted to come by to at least tell a few of the members and maybe help me get familiar with everyone else. He had a smile on his face, but the others all had a look of disgust or rejection plastered on their faces. Girl, so you're not going to put a camera in here to watch us or anything? Issei, I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Girl, yeah, I don't believe your lies. For all we know, you looking for other girls to peep on. Guy angry, I'll kick your ass if you do. Issei sad, oh, it's like this then. Girl, look, inform Sona that we don't want you here. You can go to class and don't come after school. We won't let you in. Don't even bother coming back. Got it? No one wants you around and no one will understand. Issei nodded and walked away. He walked out the hallways and went to a secluded spot in the school grounds and shed a few tears and cried a bit. Issei, crying, no, man up, don't be a bitch. It may be okay to cry. Crying is for only losing something worth crying for. You haven't lost anything worth your tears yet. Back at the student council room, they continued to talk about the other affairs that they handled. Riaz, so that was the plan, but my brother doesn't seem so keen on it. He believes there's nothing between the factions. They all agree on working for no support that they can all look to and agree that it's going to work. Sona, I see where you're coming from, but... They heard a knock. Sona, come in. They saw a girl walk in with a bit of an irritated face. Girl, sorry to disturb you, President, but remove Issei from the music group and never add him back. Sona, confused, why he seem adamant on actually playing some instruments. Girl, no, we don't want that pervert around us. We heard what he did to the kendo girls and we don't want that to happen to us. Never let him join another group. No one likes him and no one wants him around us. He's a waste of time, so we won't bother letting him in. She walked away, leaving the room in shock. Kiba, that's a bit sad to hear, don't you think? Saji, we should go and talk to him. He could use a friend, don't you think? Kiba, you're right, but would he even want to make friends? Saji, regardless, we can still try. The day went on without incident. Issei just disappeared during breaks and came back to class when needed and didn't talk to anyone. The kendo girls noticed this and saw the loneliness in his eyes. Kiba and Saji both went to look for him but didn't find him. The day ended and Issei was the first to leave. He just wanted the day to be over with. He walked in silence and not even a thought in his head. He went numb entirely. He didn't know how to feel about anything anymore. Excuse me, are you Issei Hyoudou? He stopped and realized a girl was speaking. He turned around and saw a girl from a different school behind him. Issei monotone, yes, I'm Issei, what is it? Blushing, well, I was wondering if you had a girlfriend. I've seen you walking around for a while now and I just wanted to talk to you. Issei, monotone, well no, I don't have a girlfriend and I don't think I'll ever get one if I'm being honest. Bright red blush, can I be your girlfriend? I'm a first year and you look older than I am, so what do you say, will you be my boyfriend? He shrugged his shoulders and spoke. Issei, sure, what's the worst that can happen, what's your name? My name is Yuma. Mono asterisk smiles. Issei, nice to meet you, do you have a phone or? Yuma, oh right, silly me, here's my phone, give me yours, I'll put my number in it. He handed her his phone and she put in her number, and he did the same when they handed back their phones. She sent a message and his phone buzzed and she smiled and gave him a hug. Yuma, I have to go home now, but I'll call you later. Issei, okay, that's all right with me. She ran off in the other direction and he walked home with a small smile on his face. Issei, huh, maybe my luck is going to turn around. When Issei got home, he started with a bit of his homework, and then did a few exercises that he could do. When he was finished, his muscles were burning from the awakening of his muscles, his arms even felt swollen. He then took a cold bath. He found a note from his mother saying they went out for dinner and will be back later. He smiled and crumbled up the paper, fully taking the fact they went out without him on because they don't want to celebrate his buzz. He checked his phone and saw a name he wasn't expecting. He answered it and tried to sound happy as normal. Issei, hello Granny. Granny, hello my grandbaby, happy birthday, I hope you get spoiled rotten. Issei, deep breath, thank you Granny, but my birthday was yesterday. Granny, oh no, I messed up again. I am sorry my child, how are you liking the cologne that I got you? Issei, so it was you that got it for me, please tell me where you got it. I thought I lost it, then when I found it cleaning up my room I used some and fell in love with the smell. Granny, giggling, I'll be sure to send you another one that you would like. The store is called Diesel, I found it on the way here from the countryside. Issei, right, thanks Granny, I'll see if they have any here. Granny, did you get any lucky ladies yet? Issei, I want to say yes but also no, I met her today and she asked me out, so I'll see what happens later on to see if we are meant to be or not. Granny, please, you must keep this old lady up to date with your life. I don't have many years left and watching you grow up to be the fine young man you are is my only form of happiness. Seeing you get a girlfriend will be a big step and I wish you luck my child. Issei, thanks Granny, it means a lot, I hope so too. Granny, enjoy the rest of your evening my child, I'll call again to see how things are looking. Issei, you too Granny, and don't overdo your dance night, enjoy it but don't overdo it, you're not 60 anymore when you could dance as you could. Granny, look at this, my own grandchild giving me rules like he's the adult, chuckles, love you Issei, make me proud. Issei, love you too Granny, I will. They put down and Issei's mood started to improve. He called Yuma and they talked till 2 a.m. They went to sleep feeling accomplished in something. It was something to be proud of and it made him feel happy. The next morning, he did his new routine and then left for school again, and to his surprise, Yuma was on the same walk as him. He walked her a portion to school and passed a few of his school members who were surprised to see him walking with a girl, and the girl was happy to be with him. He got to school and the news spread fast. They all knew that he was with a girl, but whenever someone spoke to him, he ignored them and they left him alone, and again during breaks. He was gone and back again during class. Akia, hey Issei, where do you go like no one can find you? Issei, why do you care? I'm just a pervert no one's around, so leave me be. I left your group alone, now do the same and leave me alone. Shocked a bit of the class when he said this, but by the end of the day he met up with Yuma and they agreed to have a date at the end of the week. The week flew by and he and Yuma spoke constantly, and got to know each other better, and Issei's general mood was better. He was even looking better during the day, and it was noticed by everyone, and they found out where he goes to during breaks. They found him in the library reading for a few minutes in the silence, and then came back to class. The weekend finally came, and Issei, for once in the past week, was actually excited about something. He put on a red shirt with a white overtop with some jeans and his sneakers, and waited by the mall. He came a bit early, and he decided to walk to a music shop and saw a few guitars on the wall and a few keyboards on sale at 2 for 1. Worker, can I help you, young man? Issei, I'm sure I want to get back into music again, would like to buy these guitars and that keyboard please. The worker nodded and got the things together. Worker, we have a delivery that can arrive in the next 2 days, are you interested in that option? Issei, yes please, save me the trouble of carrying it all today. He signed the waiver and went on his way. He then walked to the spot, and as he got there Yuma came running to him and gave him a hug. He hugged her back. Yuma, sorry if you were waiting too long. Issei, no, don't stress about it. I bought a few things and had them delivered to my house, but are you ready for an exciting day? Yuma, happy, yup. He first took her shopping for some clothing and she picked some things for him and some things for her, then took her to the arcade and won her a stuffed animal. Then they stopped a store full of cute things. He saw her sparkling eyes and then bought her the scrunchie and she put it on her wrist and showed it off to him. After that they went to eat some lunch and had fun. For Issei, this was the best. She showed him affection when he doesn't deserve it, and it made his heart melt. For the first time he pondered if this was love that he was feeling. After lunch they went for a walk in the park and watched the sunset. Issei, today was amazing. Yuma, yes, it was. Smiles. They came to a water fountain and she then ran in front of him and looked at him with a cute smile on her face. Yuma, Issei, can you do something for me? Issei, yeah, sure, what is it? Yuma, different voice, can you die for me? Issei, confused, what do you mean? A sharp pain shot through his body. He looked at the spot and saw a spear made of light going through his gut. He coughed, put in some blood, and fell to his knees looking at her with fear in his eyes. Yuma then started to glow, and her clothing changed entirely, and she sprouted wings. Issei, bleeding out in pain, why? Yuma, you were a weed in my plans, and I just got rid of them, so goodbye. Issei, it was nice. I really did have a nice time. Any girl would have been lucky to be your girlfriend, but maybe in another life. So long. She flew into the air, leaving Issei bleeding out on the floor. He fell on his back, and the blood continued to run no matter if he plugged it or not. Issei, I should have known it would have ended like this. He raised his hand and saw the blood running down his arm and let it fall to the side. Issei, well, I can at least say I tried to change, but I guess it wasn't good enough. Maybe next time I'll be stronger to live on. Issei closed his eyes, accepting his fate, which triggered a sensation in him to start surging. His body started arch from the power that started to push out his body. Green lines started to spread all over his body. Red and black scales started growing off his body, and green gems started to form on his hands. So you are my new host. The voice rang in his head, and once it stopped, he could feel that he wasn't getting any stronger and his body felt cold. There was nothing he could do. A red circle then appeared and out came a man with red hair, blue eyes, and looked down at him in confusion. Oh boy, what happened to you? This doesn't seem right, but maybe this was fate, don't you think? The man smiled and crouched down by Issei's body with a smile on his face. Chapter ends. Life 2 changes. Somewhere in the underworld, a few moments before Issei was attacked, we find a man with crimson red hair sitting in his office doing paperwork. His name is F-Sirzechs Lucifer. He's the current devil king known as the Crimson Satan. He's in his office busy doing paperwork, handling the underworld to keep it running smoothly. F-Sirzechs, well, I'm nearly done for the day, then I guess I can call it a night, and then I can go home. As he started packing up his things, he felt a disturbance in the overworld. It was a power he hadn't seen since the faction war. It was a power that would put any leader into a state of panic. F-Sirzechs, have you come back to us again? He opened a portal to the location and found the body where the signature was coming from, and found a young boy with brown hair with green lines moving all over his body. He walked closer and watched as the boy's body slowly bled out and was becoming weaker as the seconds passed. F-Sirzechs, oh boy, what happened to you? This doesn't seem right, but maybe this was fate, don't you think? He smiled and crowed down by Issei's body with a smile on his face. He pulled out something that looked like chess pieces, put them into his chest, brought him through a portal, and disappeared. Once disappearing, life went on, leaving the huge puddle of blood where he was left to die. Once coming back to the underworld, both F-Sirzechs and the boy were found by a woman with a stoic face and pure silver hair with red eyes looking at them. F-Sirzechs, how are you, Grafia? Grafia, I'm doing fine, my love. What's going on? I felt you leave and come back. Is something wrong? He looked at her and she saw the boy on the bed. F-Sirzechs, look at his magic signature, and that should figure it out, don't you think? Grafia looked at the boy and her eyes widened as she looked at the state he was in on top of what he is. Grafia, surprised, the Red Dragon Emperor has awoken. She instantly came closer and started to help treat his wounds and help him recover faster. Grafia, I see you have a new pawn as well. I am surprised. What do you think Leviathan-sama would think? F-Sirzechs, she knows our deal only pieces that we haven't used yet, and I haven't used this pawn yet, so it's alright with him on our side. It could bring a good amount of protection. and he can be a good asset if he is willing to even help us. He was bleeding out when I found him, so we may need to help him get over some traumatic issues if he has any. Grafia right. After a few minutes, he was fully healed, and they waited for him to wake up. Inside Issei's mindscape. Issei, where am I? He looked around and found himself surrounded by fire. The fire wasn't burning him, yet he could feel its heat, and when he looked around it looked as if the fire was spiraling around him as he looked around. Issei, what is going on here? It's warm but not hot. So you are my new host, huh? Issei turned around and found a huge dragon towering over him. Issei, I knew it, I died, and now I get to be punished by a dragon for my wrong deeds. Dragon, you are not dead, you were saved by someone who healed you. The fact that you don't know about dragons is one thing. I'll tell you this much, be ready for a mind-shattering time. But you can call me D-Drag, we are called the Red Dragon Emperor. It's a name that strikes fear into others, so don't do anything stupid, or your new enemies will come for you. Good luck, I'm here. Issei, D-Drag, I'll try not to tarnish your name, but surely that can't be the only reason I was saved, can it? D-Drag, I'm not sure the reason why, but only time will tell. Stay strong, but it's time to wake up now. Issei, what do you mean wake up? With a large flap of his wings, he was pushed back. He awoke in a fright. He quickly grabbed the spot and saw that he was healed, but not fully. There was still some pain from the spot. He tried to stand up, but he fell to the ground, knocking something over, which alerted those waiting for him to wake up. He forced himself to get to the window, and he looked outside, and fear and confusion filled his head. Issei, what the hell, where am I? This doesn't look like home. That's because it's not your home. You're in the underworld, better known as hell. Issei turned around and saw a tall man with red hair and blue eyes, and next to him, a shorter woman with silver hair and red eyes. The man stepped forward, and Issei took a step back. I am F-Sirzechs Lucifer, and this is my wife and Queen Grafia Lucifuge. You are now my pawn. You are safe. You can trust me. You can get back into the bed and give us a chance to explain a few things to you. Issei, I feel even if said no, you would still make me, wouldn't you? F-Sirzechs, pretty much. Issei reluctantly sat back into the bed and looked at the two strangers in front of him. Issei, so what do you want to explain or no? F-Sirzechs, alright, first tell me about yourself. Issei, alright, well, my name is Issei Hyoudou and I'm 17 years old. F-Sirzechs end. Issei, I have no achievements to be proud of, so they are not relevant to tell you. It would be a waste of time. Grafia, what about your parents? Don't they have any involvement in your life at all? Issei, I'll be honest, they haven't really been my parents since I was almost 10. They are no longer emotionally attached to me, and I don't have much of a relationship with them besides the fact that I live with them and have the name. The only family that still even bothers about me is my granny, and she's in the countryside of Japan. I have no other family. F-Sirzechs, I see any love interests? Issei, no. They can see a bit of thought and sadness written on his face. Grafia, you thought things were going right for a change and felt good, then she kills you without a full explanation. She had black feathered wings. Issei, confused, yeah, how did you know? They could see that his mind was racing. F-Sirzechs, before we get to her, let me explain what is going on and what's going on right now. Issei took a deep breath and nodded. F-Sirzechs explained to him the backstory of the devil's angels and fallen angels, how they were at war, how he was the leader in the war, and how he became a devil king. F-Sirzechs then told him about how they stopped the war to face a bigger threat that killed millions of supernatural world, and how he's now one of those dragons. He proceeded to tell him about the red dragon D-Drag, the heavenly dragon of domination, and then the white dragon Albion, the heavenly dragon of supremacy. Issei, so that's what he meant by saying I'll have a lot of enemies. F-Sirzechs, you spoke to him? Issei, yeah, I think he told me his name is D-Drag, and we are partners or something. F-Sirzechs, that's good, really good. Issei, you see, if you train hard enough, you could rival me and the other devil kings in power and even be stronger than a few of them. Issei, I have that much potential. Grafia, yes, that is correct, and we will be here to help you train. F-Sirzechs, oh yes, that slipped my mind. You see, we work with chess pieces, and you know all the pieces already, right? Issei, you called me a pawn. Does that mean I'm part of your set? F-Sirzechs, that is correct. You took all 8 of my pawn pieces, making you stronger than the low-class devils and maybe on par with a few mid-class devils. You see, with each pawn piece, the king, such as myself, needs to our power into the pieces. And when we select our pieces, the stronger that person is, the more pieces they take. And one normal piece is bound to get you to a low level. With the magic power, you won't get really far if it were just a normal high-class devil. Now onto my pieces. I am considered a super or ultimate class devil. No other high class has come close to my level of power. And none has yet to beat me or hurt me besides your dragon. Anyway, your power will be similar to mine in a sense. Along with your own, you could take on a whole peerage by yourself. My pieces are called mutated pieces. They hold more power, and 100 times more dangerous than a normal high class. Issei brain overload, huh? Grafia, my love, you went too fast for him to keep up. Issei, what he means is that you are stronger than 98% of all the pawns all the high-class devils around have, and you're going to be very, very powerful later on. Issei, oh okay, that makes more sense. Sirzechs, sorry, but your power will grow as time goes on. You are very far from being at your peak. Issei, tell me something. He looked down at the band-aid on his stomach. Issei, was it a fallen angel that killed me? The two devils looked at each other, showed concern, and nodded. Sirzechs, it seems to be the case. She probably saw you had a strong power and didn't want you to interfere with anything they are planning. Sorry you had an introduction like this. Issei looked at them and they could see the sadness on his face. It was more than evident. Issei, sad, I see, so I guess I really am a problem for everyone I interact with. Grafia, but you have a chance to be strong to protect those you care about. With our help we can help guide you if you want. Issei took a deep breath and then nodded. Issei, lead the way. My grandmother is the only one worth fighting for in my life. Sirzechs, alright, come with me, let's see if we can bring out that boosted gear you have, Grafia. She stood up and let a drop of water fall on him and he started glowing. Issei looked confused, but then started feeling less pain as he glowed. Issei, what was that? Sirzechs, Phoenix tear. Issei, you're not lying to me, are you? Sirzechs, anything mythical or supernatural exists. Issei, so mermaids are evil. Sirzechs, depends, honestly, sometimes they are alright, other times, not so much, depends on what you do with them. Issei, okay. They walked out of the room and Issei was looking at the paintings covering the walls decorating the building he was in, and saw a picture of a young woman with brown hair next to a man with red hair and blue eyes. Issei, devils don't age much, don't they? Sirzechs, how can you tell? And we can choose how we look using some magic. Issei, well, you see, this woman looks like a girl at my school. Oh my god, Ria's a devil too. A pain shot through his head and he held it and winced in pain. Sirzechs, well yes, Ria's is a devil. She is my younger sister and we can't speak about anything biblical. It causes us serious pain and discomfort when we talk about them. Issei looked at him holding his head and had a serious expression on his face. Issei, so there's other devils in my world too. Grafia, that's right, we all have clients in the overworld. Ever of the saying, make a deal with the devil. Issei, still. Sirzechs, you could meet them one day, but for now let's get you up to speed so you can start handling yourself. I'm not always going to be around to help you protect yourself. Issei, fair. They arrived at an empty room and once the door closed it turned into a room and arena that could fight in. They stood in an open field with a forest surrounding them and there were various places for Issei to go and train in. Sirzechs, welcome to the fighting simulation room. You can break anything and the world around us will fix itself and become anything you want to fight with. So let's first see if you can bring out the dragon and we can gauge you from there. Issei, alright, how do I do that? Grafia, see if you can find the power inside you and pull on that power and see if anything can change or sensations that would feel different. That is the easiest way to find access to your abilities. Issei, alright. He closed his eyes, shook his body around, and started to focus on his body, trying to find and figure out what she could be talking about. He didn't feel anything different, but his arm had a tingling feeling to it. He focused on it, and he felt the rush towards his arm. And then when he opened his eyes, he looked at his felt a bit of weight on his arm. As he looked down, he saw a red gauntlet, almost looking object on his left arm. Covered the full span of his forearm with two big golden horns, sticking out of it with a huge green gem in the middle of it. Issei, wow, what is this? He was amazed by the object stuck on his arm. He waved it around, taking in the gauntlet on his arm. Sirzechs, that Issei is the boosted gear. Let's see if you can get the dragon to talk. He could help us with your training. Issei, Didrag, you there? The green gem started glowing and then they heard a voice. Didrag, I am. What can I help you with? Issei, how do I use this thing? Didrag, well, this thing is my body. It's a physical formation of my body. You can control it to your imagination to how it looks. Issei, really, dang, sorry, I take it back. He thought about it and it started to grow over his arm and he managed to cover his whole arm in Didrag's scales. They took on a red color and his fingers had black scales that looked more hardened around the palm of his hand and fingers. Issei, this is cool. Sirzechs, that's good and all, but how can you fight? Issei, I can't fight for shit actually, I have no idea how to start fighting. He looked at his hands and the memories of the blood on his hands flashed in his mind and closed his hands and they made fists and looked at Sirzechs and Grafia in front of him. Sirzechs, alright, follow our lead with this. Sirzechs dropped his cloak and then stood in front of him and took a fighting position. Sirzechs, alright, come at me, I'll show you how to defend. Issei covered his other arm with the armor and came for a hit and then Sirzechs caught it. Sirzechs, step 1 is to be fast but in control. Once you have that under control, you won't lose yourself very quickly. You need your emotions in check. I want you to remember dragons are emotional creatures, so if you become too angry you have the off chance to let your power run wild and it can be very dangerous, understood? Issei, yes, I understand. I'll try to keep things in check. Sirzechs, right now come at me again. Issei nodded and ran at him, trying to add more speed, and the green gems on both his hands landed up having more of a size to them. As he collided with Sirzechs, they shook the whole room. Sirzechs, now this is what I wanted to see. You can copy my movements and use them for your own gain, understood? Once that is done, you can train from then on. Issei nodded and moved with him. They were almost in full sync with each other. Issei was a bit behind since he was trying to copy Sirzechs' movements the best he could. Grafia, he seems to be having fun with this boy, perhaps it's a good thing. She continued to watch them fight. Sirzechs put Issei through the ringer. After a few hours, he was on the ground out of breath, covered in sweat after stretching and maximum hits onto the floor. Issei was exhausted, to say the least. Sirzechs, you did well on your first day. Perhaps see if you can join the kendo club at school. They could train you before you come back here, and we can continue to train in more intense fighting in close combat and distance fighting. Issei, sure, but can you help me hide my power? I don't need others finding out about me. Sirzechs, a fair request. Picture yourself like normal and don't surge your energy. You seem to be human, and I'm sure you can have Draconic suppress your power, so you seem normal. You're a dragon devil. It should be easier than human reincarnate devils. Issei, okay, but Draconic can suppress my power. Sirzechs, that's correct. He and you are one, so anything that happens to you, he can either fix your body or he can control the output of power that you release. Issei, okay, thanks, I'll work on it. Sirzechs, see you then. Issei. A magic circle opened beneath his feet and he was in his bedroom. Issei, scary that they know where I live. Drag, the way they work is when you think of a location, it just takes you there. Issei, oh cool, that will come in handy in the long run. He looked at his clock and saw it was only around 9 p.m. Last he remembered it was about 3 p.m. Issei, is it just me or is time working differently? I feel like I was there longer. He sat on his bed and took in his surroundings. Drag, not to knowledge, but I am sure it's something you will get used to in time. Issei, yeah, but I guess let me go and bath, let my body relax. It's been one hell of a day, honestly. Drag, when you made the connection with me, I was allowed access to your memories. I suggest relax as best you can, but your plans of revenge seem valid enough. Issei, oh trust me, I'll have her screaming for my mercy when I see her again. He walked to the bathroom and ran his bath. Once he undressed, he sat down in the water and noticed some light markings on his arms running all over his body. They were pink and matched the body muscle lines on the top of his chest, and moved along where his V-line would be. The markings covered his arms in a way that almost followed the main lines of the scales that grow on his arms. Issei, and this. He traced his fingers over the markings and they turned a darker red, then went back to normal again. Drag, it's the armor that you made. The marks will probably change as you change it. Issei, oh that's interesting. He laid back in his bath and relaxed a bit. After his bath, he went downstairs and then made himself something to eat and found another note from his parents saying they are meeting up with an old friend and would be back later. Issei just took the note and accidentally burnt it in frustration, but took a deep breath and then continued to eat. Then he looked like he had just remembered something that he should have asked a while ago. Issei, shit. Drag, what seems to be the issue? Issei, how exactly am I meant to get back to the Underworld? I don't know how to do these things, yet I got lucky when I brought out the armor, honestly. Drag, I'm not sure if you remember your body that was arching when you technically died. That was you and I became one in a sense, so manipulation would come easier than using your magic. Issei, then mind showing me a few spells that I can learn how to get better. Daydrag, well, we can do the teleportation spell. It is simple enough for you to learn in a few hours if you set your mind to it. Issei, alright then let's do it. If I can master short distances, then I might be able to do long distances faster. Daydrag, then let's start with the magic circle. A few hours later into the night, Issei managed to at least go upstairs and downstairs easily enough. After that, he went to bed happy with the change that's happened in his life. He has something to be proud of, and something that he can work on to get better at as time goes on. The next morning, he woke up and got ready for school. He looked in the mirror and saw that he looked a bit bigger muscle-wise. His canines started showing more. His eyes got a bit of a green tinge to them, and his hair had a darker shade of brown. Issei the hell. Daydrag, the changes of becoming a strong dragon. You will get better as time goes on. Issei, oh okay. He got dressed and did his hair and all, then went downstairs and met his parents to eat. He didn't say anything to them and neither did they. He made something to eat and then left for the day. Daydrag, something seems off. Issei like. Daydrag, they seem guilty about something. I suggest watching what happens. We never know what could happen. Issei, what's the worst they can do? Honestly, they already aren't a big part of my life like I would like them to be, but I've cut my strings. I'm just mooching off them till I can get a place for myself. Daydrag, well, only time will tell. Are you going to ask Sona if you can join the kendo club? Issei, I was about to ask how you know Sona, then I remembered you can read my mind and see my past memories, but yay, let's go talk to her. He walked to school. Some of the other students almost didn't recognize him because he was taller and looked a bit different than the last time they saw him. Even as he walked past some of the girls in the school, he could hear them saying he's looking better. Issei, how can I hear them? They're so far away. Daydrag, dragons can hear super far distances, and the same for sight. You could soon get better as time goes on. Issei then made a mental note. They then made their way to the student council room, and only Sona, Tsubaki, Rias, and Akino were present. They looked at him, but then realized that it's Issei who had walked into the office. Sona, Mr. Hyoudou, what can I help you with today? He walked closer to Sona's desk, and with each step the girls were watching him, and they were very surprised to see him looking very different so fast too. Issei, oh, you see, I would like to join the kendo club if it isn't too much trouble, please. I have a bone to pick with them. Sona, before I even consider that, are you going to start fighting with them? Issei, no, not even close. I want to train my body. I'm tired of being beaten up by them. Sona, then sure, but I know it's none of my business, but are you not worried about what happened with the music group? Issei, I brushed that off and moved forward. Plus, I was stabbed over the weekend and decided that I need to learn how to fight. I nearly bleed out in the street. Look. He raised his shirt and they saw the reddish line going across his chest. Akino, oh my, that looks bad, but how is it healed so quickly? Normally a stab takes a bit of time to heal. Issei, nail polish remover cleaned it up and closed it faster than I thought. Akino, ouch. Ria's interesting use. Issei, yay. He fixed his shirt and straightened out his clothing. Issei, so Sona, are we good to go? Sona, yes, it's still a bit early. Actually, school doesn't start for another hour, so you might be able to go and either train a bit or greet them. Issei, thank you. He got up and bowed and left the room, leaving the girls alone. Tsubaki, I'm surprised to see he survived the attack, but who helped him? Rias, that's what I'm confused about as well. He seems to be completely fine and hardly a scratch on him as well, but we will be keeping an eye out for more attacks like this. Sona, well, I suppose we can get back to the topic at hand, the red dragon energy surge we had over the weekend. It's a very scary thought that it came and went without anyone so much as caring about it. Rias, no one has been able to give off the energy well enough, and no one is a match. Either the fallen got them or they are good at hiding, and the dragon is helping them right now. We will never know. With Issei, he walked to the kendo club room to make a firm standing with them because he was not letting them push him over again. He walked in and they all stopped and looked at him. Issei, morning. He waved and they all looked confused as to why he was here. Kade standing ground. Issei, what do you want? Issei, well, I signed up for the kendo club. I want to learn how to fight and defend myself. Girl, well, Issei, don't want me here. Well, too bad, I'll just train by myself. I couldn't care less what either of you has to say. We good. His quick change in demeanor and attitude freaked them out when they noticed a few of the changes in his teeth and eyes and his build. Murayama, you can stay, Issei. Just ask if you need help with anything. Issei, thank you. He then left them alone. Girl, is it just me, or is there something different about him? Kades, irritated, he better not do anything or I'm going to beat him senseless. Murayama, I think he's fine. Girl, oh please, we know you have a crush on him. Murayama, blushing, why who said so? Kades, please, you are acting like that is just a big giveaway as well. Look, I'll leave him for your sake, and if he's really here for training then by all means, but if he steps out of line just once then he's out. Girl, yeah, I agree. With Issei, he went to the library and started reading a few fighting books. Drake, these seem easy for you to catch on to. Issei, yay, I know if I can perfect the perfect balance between arms and legs, maybe things can be learned quicker. Drake, I'll remember this so we can work on it later. If I'm correct, your dragon instincts should kick in and you will again have a passive ability called muscle memory. Issei, but that is just a normal thing that people have. It's called habits. Look into my memories. I know too many names that I really shouldn't know. That's muscle memory. Drake, this version is better than basic human habits. You can try it once and you'll keep doing it that one way till you've mastered it. Issei, alright, let's see later after school to see if we can trigger the ability. After reading all the books he picked up, he went to class, and he was quiet. It surprised a few of the girls that he just ignored his old friends. He brushed them off when they asked him if he wanted to peep with them, and he just looked out the window. Akia, hey, how do you got a screw loose or something? Issei, get your eyes checked. Akia, confused, why? Issei, you clearly can't see when someone doesn't want to talk to you. It shocked the class when he said this, but then he got up and walked to the door. Teacher, Mr. Hyoudou, what are you? Bell rings. Issei just left the class and went to the gym and changed his clothes and started with a training dummy. He started with high kicks. He continued to do the same kick, then he kicked in a way that sparked something in his head, and then it felt stronger and better. To his surprise, Drake was right. The muscle's memory was kicking in and he managed to do a spin kick and took its head off with a single kick. Issei, I should hold back a bit. Drake, don't hold back. Holding back makes you weak. Use this feeling in training and keep at it. Move on to arms next, then core. He then went and started with the wooden training dummy, and he started working on the skills that he read about and how to hit the weak points. He then started off slow and then slowly picked up speed and then broke the arms off it and dented it in the chest. Splinters were stuck in his wraps around his hands all over the floor. The girls on the other side of the gym were shocked to see him actually putting in the effort to get better. And it was the second dummy that he broke on his first try. After that, they watched him try a few other fighting stances and get it semi-right. Kades, screw it, how can do that much damage? Oi, Issei me right now. He watched her walk over to some of the swords. She tossed him a bamboo sword and he caught it with one hand, and they stood on the end of the ring in the gym. Issei, what's your issue? Kades, angry, you first put a camera in our locker rooms, then you come here with skills and new techniques. We can't even do you, which is shit, so I'm going to put you in your place. Issei, calm, so your butt hurt. I said I will leave you alone, but no, you want to beat down the guy whose parents haven't said they love him since he was 8, or the fact that when he tried to change his life on his birthday, he was framed for something he didn't even know happened and then gets beat up on his birthday. And that was the only present he got. Not even his family gave two shits about him. Then yesterday mercurially gets a date and sends him to the hospital after stabbing him. He drew the sword and took stance ready to hit her. Issei, calm, I couldn't care less of what any of you think of me, but you want to get angry at me for my betterment now. That pisses me off. The girls looked at him shocked. Neither of them knew that his life would be that bad, and none of them figured he was trying to change himself, and none of them thought that he might actually try and change. For Murayama, her heart broke seeing him like this. Kades put the sword down and just kneeled front of his feet. Kades, I'm sorry for. Issei, it's too late now. There is no point, so leave it be and leave me alone. No one here is my friend, and I intend to keep it that way. He placed the sword back, got his things, and started walking to the exit. Murayama, Issei, wait please. He looked back at her over his shoulder and saw Murayama with a soft smile on her face. Murayama, happy belated birthday. Issei then nodded and left the gym. The girls all felt bad and they started thinking about it. A lot of the time they knew that the three of them would be peeking, but in most cases, Issei would say he didn't even look while they beat him, while letting the other two get away, and they still treated him badly. With Issei, He walked home and teleported to the underworld. He found himself in the room where he woke up the day before and then started wandering around looking for Sirzechs in the house. Drake, you kept your cool very well, I'm impressed. Issei, thanks, but I can't be called something I'm not anymore. I'm not a pervert and I'm not a sick freak. I'm the Red Dragon Emperor with a badass dragon as a new best friend. Drake, you humble me, partner. Issei, you think things will get better. Drake, they have to. Nothing can stay broken. It always gets fixed one way or another. It's only time. Issei, I guess you're right. He made his way to the training room, and it automatically took shape into a better fighting arena and gave him some enemies to start fighting. Issei, well, let's see how we do and if my muscle memory kicks in. The armor that was around his arms came out, and he covered his legs too and started his training again with a sharp grin on his face. In the overworld, we find Riaz and her peers looking at the body of a girl on a table covered in a sheet. They found her body in a house and she was just left there to rot away without anyone knowing about her being there. Kiba, we were too late. They killed another human president. Riaz, it's such a shame. She looks like a kind heart. What was her name? Aquino, Asia Argento is 16 years old. She was a nun and it's clear she had a sacred gear the way her body was damaged, and look at her middle fingers, they were torn off. I believe she had the Twilight healing gear, the only gear to sit upon both middle fingers. They looked at the place of her missing fingers and could only imagine her last moments. Riaz, this is bad. First, that boy Issei had a run-in with a fallen for no reason. Kaneko checked him. He didn't have gear or magic, but yet they targeted him and now they killed her. We missed something, and the bigger picture is in our sights, yet we are missing something. They were stomped. They had no idea why this was happening, and the fallen angles were covering their tracks well so they could be caught up too. Riaz, I hate to say it, but we may need help with finding them. Neither Sona nor I can continue to let this happen. We will call it a night for now. We found their one victim, hopefully. But I will communicate with Sona and see if we can have both our peerages looking for them. Oh, hi, President. They nodded and then went to give Asia a proper send-off, letting her fully pass on. With Issei in the underworld, Sirzechs and Grafia were shocked to see him covered in more cuts from the fake fighters, and he was more determined to fight more. Both of them saw the fire in his eyes, and then when he killed the last fighter, Sirzechs stood in front of him and tossed him a small vial of water. Issei caught it with one hand and took the drop, and he started glowing. Sirzechs, you seem to be doing better and picking up on techniques faster than before. What did you figure out? Issei, Drake told me that I'll have an ability called muscle memory and I'll learn things faster than normal. Sirzechs, you seem to start having a handle on it, but let's try and boost your power and see what happens. Perhaps you may land a hit on me. Smiles. Issei, okay, let's see what we can accomplish today. He looked at the gems on the back of his hands and then forced them to glow, and they all heard Drake's voice say boost. Drake, good, you seem to have figured it out. Well done, partner. You can probably do 2 boosts before your body catches up to you from fatigue. Issei, then let's make the best of this. He started running and he was faster than he was before. Sirzechs noticed he had an increase in speed, but not enough to catch him off guard. Issei came in for a kick to the gut, but was caught. But then as he caught it, Issei was ready to use his arms to hit him in the gut, but Sirzechs just blasted him back. Issei, He pulled himself out of the rubble and his armor started changing, getting a few more golden points and the rest of it becoming sharper. He didn't boost, but was able to launch himself, and he didn't go for the punch, but went for a touch to Sirzechs' chest at least. They looked at each other and smiled. Sirzechs' battle instincts seem to be kicking in. The more you don't fight it, the better you get, and you learn something new. Well done now then. He patted Issei's head and Issei nodded and dropped the armor, and the marks on his arms changed again. Issei, how looks cool, don't you think? The two came closer and took a look, and they liked the markings that the armor left on his body. Sirzechs, it does care to join us for dinner tonight, Issei? Issei looked at him, thought about it, and nodded. Issei sure beats eating by myself tonight. The two went to go and freshen up, then changed clothes. Sirzechs went for his usual suit, while Issei went for a compression shirt and a larger overshirt with some jeans and boots. They went to the dining room where Issei saw 2 adults waiting for them. Oh, is this your new pawn, Sirzechs? The woman smiled at him and motioned for him to come closer to them. As he got closer, the woman started to take in his features and started looking at the markings on his body. "It seems like a good kid. How did you find him?" The male spoke up, looking at the boy, coming closer to his wife. "Sirzechs, well, I was doing some paperwork, and then I felt the presence of the Red Dragon Emperor, so I came to the source and found him with his power surging and bleeding out, so I made him my pawn to save him. And then Grafia helped stabilize him, and now here we are. He's picking up on fighting skills and seems to grasp his magic quite quickly. He managed to teleport here on his first try and didn't struggle with it." The woman pulled him into a bear hug and smiled. Issei held his hands off her, not really hugging her back. "Sirzechs, Issei, I would like you to meet my mother Venelana Gremorys and my father Xiaudicus Gremorys. Father, I'd like you to meet my new pawn Issei Hyoudou." Venelana, "Oh, he's so cute, don't you think?" Issei, thank you, ma'am." Issei felt awkward and didn't know how to react. Venelana, confused, is something wrong? Issei, Sirzechs, he has issues with both his birth parents. They emotionally neglected him, so this is a very different experience for him. Issei, it's full-on neglect now. I haven't seen them much for a few days now. Sirzechs, I wonder why it's getting worse. Venelana, then I'll adopt him, smiles. Issei plus Sirzechs, huh? Venelana, I'll adopt him into the Bale family. He matches with the brown hair. He would make the perfect fit, asterisk, smiles, plus he reminds me of you when you were younger, Sirzechs, always trying to help others. Issei, I'm flattered and all, but I wouldn't want you to go through so much trouble, honest. Venelana just pulled him into another hug and waved him side to side with a smile on her face. Xiaudicus, kid, don't stress about, we don't mind, and having a new family member around will be nice. It's been a while, but if you're okay with it. Issei, I've been alone long enough. I want to fill my life with people who would rather enjoy my company, but I want to do something first. Venelana, smiling, and what's that, dear? Issei, I want to see my parents one last time, cut the last string by telling them to their faces that I'm leaving. Venelana, that seems reasonable. I want you to call me mom or mother from now on, okay? Issei, I'm guessing I have no choice in the matter. Sirzechs, doesn't look like it, but if you're okay with it, then I say go for it. Plus having the Red Dragon Emperor as a family member will be a nice plus too. We can keep you safe till you are ready to protect us one day if we need it. Issei, cool. After an amazing dinner, Issei and Sirzechs had a bit of a talk in his office. Sirzechs, Issei, I don't want you to see this as a master-servant bond or connection between you and me. I've always treated my peerage members as family and always made sure they were okay, so always come talk to me if you have problems, alright, anything at all, and I'll help you deal with it the best I can. Issei, sure, but as a dragon I want pride in fixing my issues myself, the things that can be fixed or changed, but if they start getting out of hand, I'll come to you if that's alright. Sirzechs, it's not a problem at all, even though I am surprised that mother wanted to adopt you, but what can I do? That's my mother. Issei, she's nice. Hey, so tomorrow do you think we can try and see if I can try and unlock more power? I want to try while it's still new and I don't become stagnant, you know. Sirzechs, well, that's almost the goal in the end. Once you reach a point of power, it is good to stay there for a while. It helps you understand it more. You end up getting a strong power-up that is more effective because you will be ready for it. So I think for now you can handle 2 boosts, find out how much it adds on to your base power, like if it's 5 times or 10 times, you can control your armor to your will. And you can do some teleporting. I'm assuming you did some short distance to get used to it. Issei, on the nose. Sirzechs, good, that's how most of us train, but I want you to focus on these things you can do for now and see how far you can get now. You could probably take on a mid-class devil and give them some trouble, so now master those skills before you add more, then we can work on more and new things. Issei, done, I think I can handle that. Issei teleported home, and not to his surprise, he was alone. He found another note about his mother and father had left on a business trip and would be back in a month and a bit and wanted him to look after the house for them. He started fighting back the tears and frustration. He took the note and burnt it. He took all the things that he wanted right now. He saw his instruments and took them as well. He teleported back to the Gremorys mansion, and they all saw him with his things. Venelana, what happened? Issei, fighting back the tears. I just need to be by myself. I promise I'll explain later. Venelana could see that he was hurting, but she respected his request and pulled him into a hug. Venelana, it's okay, we're your family now. He nodded, and they sat him down and helped him calm down. The servants brought him some water, and once he calmed down, he just sat there without a thought in his mind. Sirzechs, Issei, what do you want to do now? Issei, I don't know, I need to think about it, but this is my home now. I'm done with them. Grafia, well, I suppose you could really start anew with a family that will care for you just as you care for it. Issei smiles, thanks, it means a lot. Hyoudou, well, it can only get better from here, but Issei, what are these two large cases? The shapes are weird looking. He saw Semiotics looking at his instruments. Issei, oh, it's my guitar and keyboard. I plan to get back into playing, but I need the motivation to play. Venelana, then how about tomorrow you play for us for fun to see if you can still play? I would love to hear you play. Sirzechs, so would I. It's been a while since I've heard some good music. Grafia, perhaps with a fresh mind you could play something. It's just your current mindset and dragon emotions that are making you feel as such. I think having a good night's rest can help. Ita shrugs his shoulders. Issei, well, it is late and I have school tomorrow. How about we see tomorrow? Sirzechs, works for me. Venelana, I have the perfect room for you. She led the way and Sirzechs helped Issei with his things. They reached the room and showed him where he could place his things. The room looked slightly different to the one he was in before. Venelana smiles, well, here is your new room, Issei. I hope you like it. Issei sighs aside, this room is as big as my whole old house. Sirzechs, you get used to the size in time, but we will let you sleep. You can feel free to use the garden and the simulation room to do what you need, and there are servants around the house to help you if you need something. Issei, cool, thanks. They all gave him a hug and left him in his room. Issei took in the room and tried to open some cupboards, but a good half of them were locked and the rest were empty. Issei, I can figure that out later. He packed his things into the cupboard and it all barely fit in one cupboard. He shrugged his shoulders and took off his pants, leaving him in sleeping shorts, and got into bed and went asleep. The day was long and he needed to relax his brain. Outside down the hall. Sirzechs, so mind telling me why you put my pawn in Ria's room? Venelana, I think he would make a good husband for my daughter. He wants love and she needs to be a teenager and not an adult. She's still young. I think they will hit it off. Sirzechs, well, as long as it doesn't interfere with his training, then I guess it's all right, but isn't she engaged currently? Venelana, well, it's her choice if she wants to continue with it, and I believe her current suitor has a different motive compared to Issei, so let's see if a spark is created in the end, but only time will tell. Grafia, has your mother always been like this? Sirzechs, how do you think you and I got together? It was her doing. Venelana, and yet you two lovebirds can't keep your hands off each other when you alone. The two just started blushing, unable to defend themselves because she was right. Elsewhere in the world. Well, done with this, we can handle our next plan of action and destroy this town and everybody in it with the amount of gears our people have. Yuma, I like these rings. Getting it off that stupid girl was too easy. Oh well, too late now for her. She's dead, and the devils took the bait. Then we can proceed as planned. Chapter ends. Life 3 snapped. Issei found himself in front of Sirzechs with a bit of his power leaking out. It'd been a solid 2 weeks since Issei moved into the Gremorys household and he didn't go to school. He was just going to say he was sick and had to deal with it. But during this time he was very quiet. Some would think he's mute. Issei only focused on training with Sirzechs, and to his surprise he caught on very quickly, too quickly. He became relentless during his fighting that right now his only enemy looks like Sirzechs that can hurt him. Right now Issei has been training hard the whole day to the point he looked feral looking at Sirzechs across from him. Issei took a deep breath and charged him. He noticed that Sirzechs tends to wait till the last second before reacting to anything, so he chose to do the same as he got closer to Sirzechs. He noticed Sirzechs' arm being raised, and then he quickly kicked his arm out of the way. Then instead of attacking his chest, Issei went for his legs, making Sirzechs fall over Issei. Then stood above him ready with a gauntlet to hit him. He was panting heavily, and the sweat and blood was running down his face, and his grin looked proud and accomplished. Sirzechs just smiled at him, impressed with how far he had come. Sirzechs, you're improving. Looks like your instincts have improved. Issei tired, thank you. Sirzechs, in the past 2 weeks you've made a lot of improvement. I'm proud. Issei fell back and sat looking at him. Issei, thanks. Sirzechs still keeping quiet. Issei, why speak when you have nothing to say? Sirzechs, so be it. Have you enjoyed the 2-week break from school? Issei, yes, it's been a nice change of things for me. Sirzechs, I'm glad. Come on, it's near dinner, and I think you might be ready to meet my sister. You managed to put me on my ass today. Issei, I'll get better. I want to fight you at full strength. Sirzechs, an attainable goal, just not now. You're barely handling my power at 2%. Issei, and my 4 boots are barely keeping up. Sirzechs, give it the time, it will get better as time goes on. Issei, cool. Sirzechs, getting up, come on, let's go eat. Issei stood up and went to go and shower. He looked at his body and looked at the scale marks on his arms that stretched over his chest, legs, and back and ended by his neck. Drake, interesting. Issei, what is it? Drake, the scales have become stronger, allowing you to take more of a hit, and with the 4 boost pushing 5 you could possibly unlock a full balance breaker. Issei, I am the balance breaker. Drake, don't get cocky, look at it this way, when you need the extra boost of power that uses most of your dragon side, you could end anyone. Issei, still. Drake, if you weren't my host, I would go off at you for being this overconfident, but it's a good sign, it shows you know the limits of your current power. Issei, yeah, but run me through something quick. Drake, if it's a dragon pulse blast you can manage it, but I'm not sure about the end result of doing that in a fight. Issei, can we practice later, I at least want to grasp. Drake, your choice, I'm always watching regardless. Issei, I see. Drake, angry, I can read your thoughts, you better not think of it again. Issei, what that you like to watch? Drake, angry, I said do not say it. Issei, Tsundere dragon. Drake just kept quiet after Issei called him a tsundere. Over the past 2, Issei has been keeping quite more after his parents fully stopped caring. He stopped even thinking about a few things and ran on autopilot for the most part. Drake has been watching his emotions and found that his partner is becoming depressed because he is bottling up his emotions and not dealing with it in a healthy way. Even the love and affection he's been getting from both of the women he sees on a daily now, Grafia and Venelana, he hasn't showed any point of changing, so he's been numb for the most part. After showering, he sat at the dinner table with everyone else. They noticed his behavior change when they took him in, and they were understanding of him and didn't bring it up besides the casual if he was feeling alright or not and wanted to talk. Venelana, Issei dear, would you like to accompany me on a walk later? Issei, sure. They ate dinner while they spoke about trying to bring the 3 factions together, but were stomped on how to do it. After dinner, Issei and Venelana went on a walk around the garden and came to a bench, and she motioned for him to come and sit. She didn't say anything but watched their moon from the garden. After a few minutes she spoke. Venelana, Issei. Issei, yeah. Venelana, I want you to tell me what's on your mind. You can't have it like this, it's not good for you. Issei, I just wanted to prove myself to them and they just didn't care, and I have a feeling the minute I move on with my life and actually find happiness, then watch them come crawling back when they want something from me. Venelana just brought him in for a hug and rested his head on her bust. He could hear her heartbeat and it started to soothe him. He also unintentionally matched her breathing and started to feel better. Venelana, are you feeling better? Issei, She could feel him physically relax and hear his breathing slow down enough to calm his mind. She wrapped her arm around him and then spoke. Venelana, I'm not sure if you learned this or not, but kids always start to calm down when they hear their mother's heartbeat and help them relax. No matter how big they are, they will always calm down. When last did your mother hold you like this? Issei, I was still in diapers, I think I don't remember. He wrapped his own arms around her and he didn't see it, but she had a smile on her face. It was a sign that he was accepting her fully as his mother. Venelana, well, I meant what I said. I am your mother now. Ill look, after you have a family now, you don't need to look any further, you have us now. Issei, then can we make it official? Venelana, how do we do that? Issei, you see, in the human world you can sign some documents making me legally your child, then literally I'm part of your family. Venelana, I'll talk to Zeoticus about it and see if he's interested, but either way, I want you to feel like a part of the family. Issei, I'll try. I think I'll be fine in a few days. I just need to work through this because I spent a good part of my life trying to be accepted by them to only just be abandoned like I was. Venelana, take your time. Abandonment is a tough thing to do alone. When last did you speak to your grandmother? Issei, we talk every month. She has her things and I have my things to do, but when we do talk, we catch each other up on everything that's been going on. It's a nice thing too. She's getting old now. Her last wish was to watch me in a relationship. Venelana, oh, I'm sure things will turn around. Don't worry about it. All right, you have us now. Issei, thanks, Mom. Venelana smiled and stroked his back, making him feel better, and for once in a very long time, Issei started feeling like he belonged. Drake, my partner seems to have good people around him. I wonder how things will get better for him. The next day was Issei's first day back after nearly a month. Everyone was surprised by his new look. Even with the longer hair and even slightly bigger build, he didn't talk to anyone, but they tried to talk to him, but he flat out ignored everyone. But something they did surprise most people was his activity in class. He was more active, and getting a lot of the work right. He shocked almost everyone in his class. Later in the gym, he was there before the kendo girls and was working on a sword technique. He was getting so much better with a sword to the point he would look like he was almost a pro, but to Issei he was so far behind and weak he hated it. Kades, hey Issei, looking good. Issei, Ikia, is something wrong? Issei, why everything's fine? Kades, no, something is definitely off. You don't come to school for a month, then when you do you are so different. Something happened. Issei, why speak when you have nothing to say? So I remained silent. Murayama, Issei, is everything alright at home? Issei, I left home. It shocked them that he left his home, and it started to make sense as to why he didn't show up for the past month. Girl, aren't you worried about your parents? Issei, why should I? They seem to be fine with abandoning me over a month ago, so why bother caring about what they think? Murayama, then where have you been sleeping or eating? Issei, I am sorted. He did a strike on the dummy and managed to break it and the wooden sword as well. It shocked them again that he was getting stronger. They noticed his hands and how they were wrapped and how they had some reddish marks coming through it. Issei, think that's it for me today. I have other things I need to do for today. It freaked the girls out that he was so calm about it too. They helped him clean up the mess and then he went to use the shower. Murayama stood outside the bathroom door waiting for him to come out. Kades, what are you up to? Don't tell me you trying to peep at him. Murayama, no, I just want to talk to him is all. I'm worried about him. Ikia, I don't think to worry about him now. Get away from the door before he comes out. As she said this, he came out of the bathroom with a compression shirt on, showing off how big he actually was. To them he was smelling amazing. They all looked at him and got a bit of a blush. Issei just walked to his things, put his undershirt on and then his school shirt, then blazer, then took the rest of his things and left, not a word and hardly a sound. He walked to the afternoon classes for the day. He had a lot of work to slightly catch up on, but he wasn't too fazed about it. As he walked he could hear the music group talking in the distance. Kira, we need someone that can play and sing with Alice. Our holiday that day, we can't perform. They watched Issei walk past them and Kira, the girl that had him removed, bit her lip and then called him. He looked in her direction with a cold look that they all felt, even the guys included. Issei, what? Kriya, by any chance can you actually play an instrument? Issei, yes. Kira, look, I know it's out of the blue and you probably don't want to even play with us, but would you mind stepping in on the open day? None of us can sing and play, and you seem like the type that can do both. Issei, I don't know, I'm sure you don't want the pervert near you, so figure it out. They all felt bad. Karma bit them back. They couldn't even look him in the eye, and now Issei didn't want to help them and they needed it. When they looked up again, he was gone again. James, what now? Kira, if someone sees him later, please just ask him again and we will give him respect this time around. Natsu, I have the last lesson with him. I'll try and tell him I can catch him. Alice, I think try your best. Time skip. Time slowed down for Issei. It felt like he was spending more time learning things he didn't need to know. He watched as the teacher got stuck. He took a deep breath, raised his hand, and called the teacher. Issei, sensei, carry the x angle and then it's equivalent to angle C, so then you can state that x is equal to C, which is 500. Then to work out the surrounding area to find Z, you take the 500 and divide it by 2, which is 250 for both of the angles that make up the rest of the equation. Teacher, oh, why you right, Mr. Hyoudou? Issei, yay. Teacher, when did you get this ahead? I can see Kades struggling and double-checking your work as we speak. Issei, I just put all my extra time into doing some studying and working on myself. Teacher, keep up the good work then. Issei, sure. After class ended, he was about to leave when he was stopped by Natsu from the music group. Natsu, hey man, look, I know we weren't the nicest the first time around and we are screwed if we don't get help. Look, it won't be a waste of time and we will respect what you have to say because you'll be helping us a lot. Issei, fine, I'm not evil, I'll be there tomorrow. Guy, thanks a lot. Issei nodded and continued walking to the exit of the school. But then he heard something that caught his attention. He knew the voice. It was Ria's and a few of her friends. He stood in a place not being noticed and focused on his hearing to listening to what they had to say. Ria's, right, you know the drill. We located them to be at the abandoned church near the waterfront, so we attacked tonight. Oh, hi, President. Issei, so they found the fallen. Guess I'll go pay a visit before them. Drag, I'd like to see what you do, partner. Issei, serious, all right, let go. He looked around and noticed that he wasn't being watched. He made a magic circle and left for the spot where Ria said they were. It was like his signature set off alarms for both Ria's and Sona's peerage. They felt the dragon's energy spike and leave. They all rushed to the spot, and it was already gone. Ria's worried. I don't like how it comes and goes, and it seems malicious too, and it's getting closer each time. Sona, I'll have my peerage and myself go and look while you and yours go and handle the fallen. Ria's, all right, we can do that. With ease he arrived at the old church and looked around. He could sense their magic around the place. He covered himself with scales over his arms and legs, and a bit of his back. His teeth became sharp and his eyes became dragon slits. In the past month, Issei's dragon features have taken a more prominent appearance whenever he uses his magic, and he doesn't register as a devil anymore. He's more a dragon than the devil. Even his wings are dragon wings, and not devil wings like most of them have. As he covered himself, he dodged a lightning attack and jumped to the source and was met by a girl with blonde hair. He grabbed her by the neck and held her down onto the roof of the building. Millet, smirking, what do you plan to do to me, huh, big body? Issei wasn't fazed. He took his claws and tore down her dress, exposing her body. Millet, oh, so you want to? Her eyes widened as blood started running down from her mouth and pain rushed throughout her body. He shoved his hand into her chest and ripped out her heart. Her dying body only saw a cold look in his eyes. He then cut her head off and left it on a sharp stick and left it by the door, leaving a marking. He made his way in, and the other fallen saw him covered in blood. They all got ready, but the last thing they heard was boost before their wings were ripped off, and then had an arm shoved into their chests and bled out. Issei continued to walk through it, and with his dragon smell he smelt the doorway of older dead bodies. He removed the pedestal and walked down. He wasn't in any rush, and he walked calmly into the underground dungeon that looked like it was used for BDSM. Candles and restraints were scattered around the dungeon. He then saw the people he wanted to kill. Issei, so this is where you've been hiding from me. They all looked at him, and his presence set off multiple alerts for them. Yuma got into a fighting position and ran towards him to try and kill him with a light spear, but as she came to him, he kicked her in the face, sending her into a wall, then kicked her in the head again, and then looked at the others with a grin on his face. Calawarna then ran at him, then he boosted again. She froze in her footsteps, hearing the boost, and fear was written all over her face. Calawarna, scared. It's the Red Dragon Emperor. Millet was outside. What did you do to her? Tears of fear started forming in her eyes, and Issei could only smile and laugh. Issei, chuckling, you mean the corpse outside? I enjoyed cutting her head off. Serious, it was easy. Calawarna lunged at him with tears in her eyes, and he caught her with one hand and shoved her into the ground, snapping her neck. He then tossed her towards Yuma, who was knocked out, and all that was left was a few other fallen angels. Fallen one, Donasik, sir, what do we do? Donasik, concerned, I don't know, just attack him now. He's one guy and multiple of us get him. They rushed Issei, and he just waited for them to get closer as they were about to hit him with a light spear. He was gone, then another boost was heard, and then they were all sliced into pieces before Donasik's eyes. Their blood splattered everywhere, covering the whole room. Donasik, scared, what is it that you want from me? I'll give you anything, money, fame, power, name your price. Issei, your head. He rushed Donasik and started beating him from his ribs to his spine, to ripping off his wings. Donasik screamed for mercy and even cried for his father to forgive him. And with one last pull, Issei ripped his head off with his spine still attached. The blood ran from his body, and it looked like his heart burst and ruptured as he had ripped out his spine and head. He then made his way over to Yuma, who was slowly waking up. He shook her away, and she awoke to Donasik's head and spine being waved in front of her face with loads of blood splattered around the whole place. She screamed from seeing all her friends killed and scattered around her. Fear was evident in her eyes as she looked at Issei. She tried to crawl away, but Issei grabbed her by the legs and brought her back to him. She started crying before he even did anything to her. He held her by her bra, forcing her to look at him. Issei, what's your actual name? I'm only asking once. Yuma, crying, my name is Rainer. I'm a fallen angle. Issei, right, Rainer, want to tell me why you had to kill me? Rainer, scared, sniff asterisk, your sacred gear was strong, and it was going to interfere with us getting others that can be easier to get without you in the way. We could have been fooling that redhead for a few more months. Issei, she knew you were here. How do you think I got here? But she doesn't know that. Rainer, wait, then who are you here with? Issei, no one, but I'll be happy to end you. Rainer tried to fight back in a last-ditched effort and thought she got away, but Issei grabbed her by her legs again and slammed her into the ground, making her bite a bit of her tongue off. She screamed in pain, and the blood ran from her mouth as she looked up at him again. Issei, I'm going to have fun with this. He closed his hands and they cracked as he closed them. He started hitting her in her gut, causing her to throw up her dinner. After that, he took her arm and slowly started bending them in the opposite direction. As he did this, she fought hard to try and push him away from her, but he just snapped it, making her scream in pain again. He broke her other arm, and she was full-on crying at this point. Rainer, ugly cry, I'm Tori Blease, Borgive me, Isti bind a blaze in Tor heart to Borgive me, ill make it up bow you, ill bow am thing. I am sorry, please forgive me, Issei, find a place in your heart to forgive me, I'll make it up to you, ill do anything. He stopped and just watched her cry and lay in a pool of blood. Deidraig, she has the twilight healing rings. If she puts them on herself, she can heal herself. Issei smirked, took her broken arms, and put her hands on her chest, making her heal herself. She started to calm down and watched what he was letting her heal herself. She gained a false sense of safety. Rainer, I promise I'll be your slave. Ask for anything, I promise. I'll make sure I'll be good, and you won't need to worry about me doing anything wrong again. He saw the look in her eyes, but he didn't care what she had to say. He took both her hands and broke them again and beat her all over again, but no broken bones. Issei, there's no getting out of this. Any last thing you want to say to me? Rainer, in pain, forgive me, I promise I'll be good to you. He kicked her to her side, rolled her onto her stomach, placed both hands on her wings. Issei, may you never rest in peace, suffer till the end of time. With one pull, he ripped her wings off, tearing the skin off her back, which made her scream in pain. He then grabbed her head and just repeatedly smashed it into the ground. Her screams echoed with each hit, till it was only a wet, sloshing sound. The only thing left in his hand was a pile of broken skull bones and muscle. Her then ripped the rings off her fingers and held them in his hand and looked at the green gems on them. Deidraig, I can keep those for you in the gauntlet if you don't want to carry them on you. They are the most worthy. Keeping the rest is hardly worth taking. Poor humans. Issei, what does that mean? Deidraig, to remove a sacred gear from its host kills them within seconds. As such, the few that are lying around or were in use had a more recent host before these fallen, so they will stay here till they are collected. Issei, right. There was a red glow around them, and the rings were gone from his hand. He then took some blood with his fingers and wrote a message for Riaz and her peerage. I handled this, don't look for me, you're welcome. And with that, he left and teleported back to the Underworld, where both Grafia and Sirzechs found him covered in blood. Issei, I can explain if you want. Sirzechs, yes, actually you look like you're in better spirits as well. Issei, I feel a bit better, I think. I killed the fallen angles that tried to kill me and took the twilight healing sacred gear, as Deidraig tells me. Sirzechs, get cleaned up, then we can continue talking. Issei, sure. Time skip a few minutes. He came out looking fresh and better than he did when he left the house. He walked to Sirzechs' office, then found him and Grafia waiting for him. Sirzechs, all right, come take a seat. We have a few things to explain about that gear, and then I think I need to tell you a few rules, but not like they will matter, but will help with future problems. Issei, all right. With Riaz. Riaz, all right, let's see what we are dealing with. They walked closer to the church, and to their concern, there was no magic energy at all. Kiba, I'm not the only one, right? Akino, no, I'm with you, something's off. There's a thick smell of iron in the air. Kaneko, it's coming from the church. Riaz, let's move. They got closer to the church and were met with a massive body spread above the entrance, with her heart ripped out and her head on a spear in the doorway. Riaz, what the? She used her power of ruin and got rid of her body, and they walked closer and found more dead fallen with holes in their chests and wings ripped off. Kaneko, this is one hell of a sight, don't you think? Akino, but who could have been the cause of this bloodshed? They did a bit more of an inspection on the bodies, and they were all the same. Riaz, well, no time dwelling on what happened here. Look around, I'll handle the bodies. They nodded and started looking around, and Riaz removed all the bodies from the main hall of the church. Kiba, Kaneko, and I found a tunnel heading somewhere. Kaneko, look at the footprints, President. They looked like large claw marks. Riaz, they look like dragon feet. Akino, you don't think? Riaz, I agree, they might still be here. Kiba, well, let's go. They walked lower and found that the smell of blood was becoming more rich and almost ungodly to handle. Riaz, they were here. The whole dungeon was covered with blood and the bodies of dead fallen angels. What stood out the most was Donasik and Rainier's bodies. One had the head and spine ripped out, while the other had her wings ripped off and her arms broken with her head smashed into a pile of mush. Kaneko, what now? We can integrate them. Riaz, first check around for the twilight healing. I can see the other gears and it's not here, and it doesn't look like anyone managed to escape. Akino went to Rainier's body because it looked to be the most recent. On closer inspection, she noticed the middle fingers were broken. Akino, my king, she had the twilight healing, but I can't see it or find them. Riaz came over and took a look. Riaz, she looks like she had the worst of it. The twilight healing was used on her. Look, her ribs aren't fully healed yet, but she was beaten worse again. Akino, healed then broken again. Riaz, they didn't let her have the light of day. Kaneko, I mean, look at his head and spine. This was torn with little to no resistance. Normally, there's not even a break in the cartilage or tendons surrounding it. Kiba, President, look at this. She walked over to Kiba and saw the written message on the wall written in blood. Riaz, sighs, I guess this was handled by the dragon and they took the twilight healing rings. Akino, would you like us to collect the current gears that were left behind? Riaz, yes, I'll see if my brother can get Adrika to see if he can fix them so they can move on. They nodded and started the cleanup. After they collected the gears, Riaz used her power of destruction and removed all the blood and all the bodies. Riaz, let's go, we aren't going to find any clues as to what happened here. They nodded and left, and the abandoned church was once again abandoned. With Issei in the Underworld. Issei, understood. I didn't realize if you don't give me permission and go as I please, then I could become a stary for not following orders. I'll try ask before doing things in the future. Sirzechs, it's all right, and on the plus, as much as I'm impressed you managed to handle that fight by yourself and use the power that you had. Issei, thanks, smiling asterisk. Grafia, so how does it feel to have gotten rid of the person who tried to kill you? Issei, every single one of her screams for mercy and her crying in pain brought joy to my ears, and the rest of them was good practice against actual enemies that don't know how my fighting style is. He used quotes with his fingers, making both Grafia and Sirzechs chuckle a bit. Sirzechs, aw, come on, it at least made you strong, didn't it? Oh, that reminds me, keep the rings with you. I'll give them to my sister when she has a member that is capable of using them. It's safer with you for now. Issei, okay, just let me know when you need it or want it. Grafia, now before dinner, can you play us a song with either the keyboard or the guitar? Please, we have been waiting patiently. Sirzechs, oh, I agree, mother has been waiting long for you to play for her. Issei, right, I have a song that I remember how to sing and play that let me win a concert I had as a child. He walked up to his guitar and then motioned for Sirzechs and Grafia to come along. They walked to the living room where Venelana and Zeoticus were reading. They looked up as they heard the footsteps and saw Issei holding an instrument case. Venelana, getting excited, oh my, what's this? Issei, well, you wanted me to play a song for you because you were curious, so that's what I'm going to do for you all. She had a big smile on her face, and Zeoticus looked interested as well. Sirzechs and Grafia both sat down and waited. Issei took out the classic guitar, and on the other side of the case was the electric one. Issei, all right, well, the song I have for you is meant to reignite the spark in your love life, and you will fall in love with your husbands or wives all over again. Grafia, is that possible to fall in love like that again? Issei, please, you love this man. I see how you look at each other. Now please stand and enjoy the song. https://youtube/dq58m0 As he played and sang, they were all amazed by his voice, and he was right, they couldn't look away from each other. Venelana and Zeoticus felt the passion they felt that had faded reignited once again. Venelana rested her head on his chest, and Zeoticus held her close to him, and they enjoyed the embrace around them. It was a similar experience for both Sirzechs and Grafia. The love they had felt stronger, and they couldn't see anyone else but each other. They gave each other a deep kiss, and rested their heads together whilst they slow danced together. Even all the helpers couldn't help but to sway side to side as he sang and played for them all. It truly was a magical night for everyone present. They felt very different overall, even felt refreshed. When Issei finished playing, he continued to play music so they could enjoy the moment. He smiled watching them fall in love again. Drake, partner, do you two wish to be in love? Issei, it's something that I want more than ever. It's been a dream of mine, but with the way everything went with that last date, I don't know, I fell too fast and look where that got me. I got murdered kind of. Drake, well, I wish you luck in that regard, partner. Issei, you don't have someone you wish to meet again, even if it's not romantic love but mutual love for someone. Drake, that life was long past me. Once I was put into the gear you have over hundreds of years ago. The only thing going for me at this point is making sure you can beat the white one. If you have awoken me, then he could be awoken as well. Issei, then we can see Buddy. After a few more minutes of slow dancing, they noticed and saw Issei smiling, watching them with a smile on his face. Venelana came to give him a hug, and so did Grafia. Issei, see what did I tell you? Asterisk smiling asterisk. After dinner, he went to do his night routine, got into bed and got comfy. As he was about to fall asleep, a bright red light shone in his room. He sat up and saw Ria standing in his room. She wasn't facing him. She started to get undressed. He watched her look at his guitar case that was left out. His heart started racing because this moment could either go well or horribly bad. He didn't know at all. Ria's, huh, that's new. I wonder if mother left it there for me. I'll see later. It's been a long day. She took her shirt and bra and then skirt and underwear. She then put on a semi-see-through nightgown, and then once she turned around, she saw Issei in the bed looking terrified with a blush on his face. She then grew a blush on her face. There was a moment of silence between them, then they both screamed at each other. Chapter end. Life 4, kill me now. As she started screaming, he started screaming. She instantly charged up her power and started attacking him with balls of destruction. Issei saw this and instantly dived out of the bed and watched as whatever they hit ate straight through it instantly. He continued to dive and dodge her attacks, and with each ball, they got slightly bigger and faster. Issei, I just wanted to sleep. He jumped and flipped over another ball, then saw her about to throw one of the balls at his instruments. He made a sword and covered his arms and legs, and used his sword to cut the ball, but then another one quickly came and hit him. He was breathing heavily while smoking. After the attack, he dropped his arms and looked and saw Ria's covering herself with a blush on her face. Issei, tired, want to tell me why you decided to get changed in my room and still break all my things? You nearly hit my instruments. He pointed to the cases behind him, and she looked almost confused. Ria's covering herself and blushing. Your room? Are you dense? This is my room. Why are you here? Issei confused. Wait, what? Ria's flustered. Get out of my room. She charged another attack and Issei got ready to block it off. Then the door swung open and both Sirzechs, Grafia, and Venelana and Hyoudou came into the room to see some of it destroyed, with Ria's in her nightgown and covering herself, and then Issei in defense mode and still smoking after the attack. Ria's panicked. Brother, quick, get him out of my room. Sirzechs, first off, relax, you look stressed. Ria's stressed. How can't I be? I have someone or something dangerous in my territory, and to top it all off, the Red Dragon Emperor is somewhere around it as well, and I just had to deal with a dungeon full of blood and destroyed fallen angles. Issei, sweatdrop, sorry about that, they pissed me off. Ria's, how are you sorry? Sirzechs, my dear sister, look at him carefully, please. She looked at him and saw a bit of the armor on his arms and legs, then looked at his face carefully. Ria's, Issei, you're the Red Dragon Emperor. Issei, yeah, stop screaming please, it's been a long day, and you attacking me like that made me more tired than I was. Drake, stop hiding it from me, please. After a few seconds, she could feel the power of the dragon and something else that surprised her entirely. Ria's shocked. He's part of your peerage. Hyoudou, I'm going back to sleep, son, you can handle this for now. He walked back out of the room. Venelana, I'll be there in a bit, my love. Sirzechs, now relax and be nice and share the bed. We can sort this out in the morning, all right? Venelana, oh, agreed, now get along well, okay? And Ria's. She looked at her mother. Venelana, I happen to like this one. The adults left and closed the door. Issei was looking at the hole in the wall that she left that was closing and fixing itself, and the debris that was scattered around the bed went away as well. He started to fix the bed too. Issei, well, that's new. Ria's thinking this doesn't make any sense. He looked at her holding her head, looking very confused. Issei, what doesn't? Ria's, all of it. How did you even know to find the fallen? Issei, I heard you talking about it actually when you were by the side of the orc club room when I was leaving, and I heard to mention it. Ria's raised eyebrow, but how that's on the other side of the school? Issei, oh Issei Hyoudou did say that I'm likely going to pick up on some dragon features. I think I have super hearing or something, but yay, after you mentioned it to Sona about going to sort them out, I said I need my revenge first because they tried to kill me. It wasn't that bad. Ria's, that bad? Oh, don't make me laugh. They didn't stand a chance against you. You obliterated them. Issei, oh well, that was a while ago. Time goes on with life. Ria's, at least tell me you still have the rings. Issei, oh yeah, I do. Why? Ria's, good, we need to get them fixed so they can go the next person that can be born with them. Issei Hyoudou said he wanted me to give it to you to give to one of your more capable members and told me to hold onto them till then. Ria's, oh I see, another question why you are here. She moved and sat on the corner of the bed and he sat on the other side. He maintained eye contact and didn't break it. Given her current attire, he wanted to be respectful. Issei, remember I mentioned the other day I had problems with my family. Ria's worried, oh no, what happened? Issei, they just left. It was the same day I met your parents and they wanted me to stay here. Your mom wants to adopt me into the Bale family too. Ria's, that's some news. I wish I had told sooner. I could have helped you. Issei, it's alright, but are you going to go on an attacking spree again? I don't think the room or my armor could take it. Ria's, light blush, I'm sorry that you startled me and I didn't expect you to be in my bed too. Issei, fair enough. Now a serious question, can we sleep? I used a bit of magic power on the fallen tonight, and tanking maybe a half-powered version of your attack took a lot out of me. I'm drained. Ria's, sure, we can go to sleep. She watched him take a pillow and get off the bed. Ria's, what are you doing? Issei, sleeping on the floor. I'm not sure why we were put in the same room, but I don't intend to make you feel uncomfortable in your own home, so I'll sleep on the floor. Ria's, light blush, no, it's alright. The bed is big enough to have a lot of space between us. It's the least I can do since I attacked you, and it's your home too now. Issei, all alright then. He got into place on the other side of the bed, and she got in on the other side. Issei, now that I see it, there is nearly a whole 5 people between us. He turned off the light and got comfy on his side of the bed, and she did the same. Ria's, light blush, hey Issei. Issei, Ria's, sleep well. Issei, falling asleep, you too sleep well. She smiled, closed her eyes, and drifted to sleep. The night was calm and peaceful with a hard thunderstorm that cooled down the room, which led them to begin moving in their sleep. The next morning, Issei and Ria's can be seen sleeping in each other's embrace. She was cuddled in his chest while resting her head on his arm, and he had his other arm holding her close to him. They were in bliss. It was the comfiest thing ever for the two of them. They both started to wake up and looked at how they slept and noticed they were so close. They both pushed themselves back from each other and just had a blush on their faces. Issei, blushing, good morning. Ria's, blushing, good morning. Issei, blushing, is just as confused as to how we landed up like that. She just nodded while blushing. Issei, blushing, all alright then, let's put it aside for now, we can sort it out later, agreed. She nodded in response. Issei, blushing, well, since we are sharing, I'll change in the bathroom and you can change here, or do you want the bathroom first? Ria's, blushing, I'll take the bathroom please. Issei, blushing, sure, but do you mind if I quickly use it to freshen up? Ria's, blushing, sure, go ahead, I need to get some clothes ready. Issei, blushing, alright, cool. He went to the bathroom and then washed his face with cold water, wet his hair a bit, and tried to calm down. Issei, blushing, what the hell was that? Drake, I'm not sure to ask if you're okay or not between the member in your pants pitching a tent, or if you are freaking out because you actually had a good sleep next to a girl that doesn't want you dead. Issei, shit, do you think SHE saw? I don't need her thinking I am a pervert, everyone just stopped seeing me like that. Drake, she most definitely saw, no getting out of that. In the room. Ria's, light blush, well, it wasn't the worst way to start the morning actually, but I don't know if my eyes are messing with me or is he really that big. His girlfriend is going to be lucky. She laid out her clothes and waited for Issei to come out of the bathroom. After coming out of the bathroom, he let her in, and she got ready for the day. He then got dressed and got ready for school. He did his hair and used some of his cologne, and then was on his way. As he left the room, he ran into Venelana, who had a smile on her face. Issei, morning, mother. Venelana, good morning, Issei, how did you sleep? Issei, pretty good actually. Venelana, then do I take it as a good sign? Issei slowly grew a blush and then shook his head. Issei, breaking eye contact, I have no idea what are you talking about. He tried to break eye contact, and she let him go and walked to their room. Issei greeted Sirzechs and Grafia, who sat at the table and got ready for breakfast. Issei, I don't know who had a better night, me or you two. They blushed at each other and smiled a bit. Sirzechs, what do you want to do today for training? Issei, I want to see if I can get to 10 boosts by the end of the week. Sirzechs, alright, maybe let's also work on your power consumption, because an attack from Riaz nearly took you out. Issei, we don't know that I was tired and exhausted, so I might have been able to withstand it. Hyoudou, he has a point, son. Issei, thank you, father. He started to dish some food to eat. With Riaz in her room. She came out of the shower and found her mother waiting for her on her bed. Riaz, mother, what's going on? Not like you to come to my room so early in the morning. Venelana, oh nothing, I just wanted to know how this morning went. Riaz grew a blush but shook it off. Riaz, nothing happened this morning, it was alright. Venelana, well, the both of you getting blushes, say something, and I want to know what. I won't ask him, but I will you because you attacked him last night. Riaz, blushing, we woke up in each other's embrace this morning, and before you get any funny ideas, nothing happened, alright. Venelana, see, that wasn't so hard. No, I want you to get along with him. He's going to be part of our family soon, and I want you two to get along well. Riaz, he mentioned you wanted to adopt him. Venelana, that's right, he reminds me of a young Sirzechs, and it's a similar thing with your father too. He reminded me of your father when he was younger and more of a free spirit. Riaz, what are you inciting here? Venelana, oh nothing, but I know my eyes are never wrong. Now hurry up, you and Issei can go to school together. Riaz nodded and got dressed and then came to the dining table where her and Issei's eyes met, and then she sat next to him. Both parents of the table sat at opposite ends, and Issei had Riaz on his right, and across from them was Sirzechs and Grafia, who was on Sirzechs' right. Sirzechs, so you calmed down enough now? Riaz, keep quiet, you all know I didn't expect him to be there. Issei, the same could be said for me, didn't expect you to just get changed like that. Riaz, regardless, so you've added the Red Dragon Emperor to your peerage, Zechs. It's been a while since you set the others all free years ago. Sirzechs, that is true, but I'm sure you know mother has told you she likes him a lot. Riaz, yes, she has. How strong is he? Sirzechs, right now the strongest low class you could find, pushing the mid-level devils in power too, but we plan to see how far he can push it and see if he can be better. Riaz, that's impressive. Issei, oh Zechs, I think we should add some swordplay into this week's training. Sirzechs, why? Issei, dogging light spears is a pain, and cutting them with a sword can help more. I've already started with it, but I think improving on it can help. Riaz, my knight Kiba is a fine swordsman, he could help you. He just looked at Sirzechs. Sirzechs, go ahead, I have some other sword styles, such as the 3-sword style that was created by a legendary swordsman millennia ago. Issei, alright then, let's do that to see what I can learn, but I need to get to school now. I need to be there a bit early for some music group things. Riaz, alright, let's go. I need to be there early for a meeting with Sona. Issei, alright, let's go. He teleported them to the overworld, and they walked to the school. Riaz, you seem very comfortable with teleporting. I'm impressed, it took me way longer to get used to it. Issei, yay, I still practice now and again, so then I can only get better. I have a skill or something called muscle memory, so once I do it, it becomes muscle memory and I can do it the same way till I get better. Riaz, that sounds like a blessing, given you've only been a devil and a dragon for only over a month or two now. Issei, you know my given past, so I stopped that and put all my time I would normally indulge in that to working on myself to be better and get stronger than I am now. Riaz, do you have a goal? Issei, to be better than my master. Training with him and Grafia has accelerated most of the work for me because dragon instinct kicks in and I start fighting better, and then muscle memory kicks in. Rias, I want you to have one with my peerage to gauge how far along you are, could be a nice test for you as well. Issei, alright then how about after school I meet you by your club room? Rias, that seems alright, but if we end up having free time, I'll send Kiba to come and fetch you if you don't mind. Issei, sounds good. They walked into the school together, standing super close to each other, and the fact they were both smiling caused shock waves in everyone who saw. They started taking pictures before they went their separate ways. They gave each other a hug and then went their separate ways. Issei made it to the music room, and there they all saw him come in. Issei, hey, sorry am I late? Kira, no, you on time, we just got here ourselves. Issei, so what's this meeting about? He sat down in the circle and a few of the girls couldn't look away from him. He smelled good and looked better in general, and he looked like he was working out on top of it. Natsu, so you know the open day is coming up and we were asked to perform a few songs for the parents and the school. Issei, oh that's easy, quick, give me a genre. Ruby, alt trap. Issei, nice, how many songs? Kira, about 4. Issei, okay, we can do these and then maybe add a bit of pop at the end for people to enjoy how that sound. In the unlikely event they want one more song, we do a love song. They were all shocked that he thought about it like that and came up with a game plan that fast. Kira, okay, what can you play? Issei, guitar and piano. Kira, you said you can also sing, mind showing us a song so we can see if you can be the lead singer or him? James, I sing well but it's only fair. Issei, okay, let's take a look, let's start with this. He went to the keyboard and played it like he never played it before. Kira, unimpressed, you better not be messing with us, what was that? Issei, I needed to hear the keys and the tone that it's in so I can make the right tuning to it. He changed a few keys and the pitch changed a bit. Issei, alright, you guys should know this song. https://youtube/fnvumfmxp70. He started playing the keyboard and they all started adding their own instruments to play with him. Once he was finished, they all looked at him shocked. Issei, alright, that was a bit more effort than I thought, but I feel like I could have hit a few notes better. Kira, since when you can sing so well? Ruby, I am sorry we chased you away. James, yay man. Issei, whatever, it's alright, so how was that in your books? Kira, okay, you most definitely can sing, can you do another song on our request to see your vocal range? Issei, sure, lay it on me. Kira, okay, can you, it will rain. Issei, yeah, I should be able to. Natsu, we know how to play it, so just sing. Issei nodded and they started. https://youtube/nosgpdlimmi. When he finished, he had shocked them, he sang it perfectly. Kira, okay, I feel like it shouldn't even be the president of this club with your type of skills. Issei, you're overreacting a bit, but I can be the lead if you want singing and all well when it's a woman singing. Alice, that doesn't sound bad actually. Issei, cool, I have a list of songs that we can do, you can pick from them, then we can practice later. Kira, right, give me your number, then send the list, then we can pick and select through them. Issei and Kira exchanged numbers and he was added to the music group. He sent the list and they looked shocked seeing some of the songs they never heard of before. Issei, this is just one playlist of mine, if you can't find a song you like I'll send from the other one if you want. Alice, dude, since when have you been like this? Issei, I was like this when I was younger, then started to abuse too much of a good thing and got caught up in it, but I decided enough was enough and things are starting to go up for me, smiles. Natsu, well done man, keep going. Issei, thanks, well I'm going to get to class, I'll see you around. He bowed and left. Kira, right, we have our plan of action, now let's just see what can we play. Issei just walked to class and on the way there he could hear the whispers from everyone around him about Rias and himself. He put it aside and continued walking till he dodged a tackle from his two old friends. They went skidding across the ground and everyone just looked at the scene in form of them, thinking that he was still like he was, and even though he looked like he changed, he didn't. Madohama, oi, why is your dumbass walking to school with that hot honey Rias, huh? Matsuda, yeah, why you're holding out on us like this? Issei shrugged and started to walk. Madohama, hey, don't ignore us. He just continued to walk away from them, not a word said, not an action taken. They chased him, but then he grabbed them and held them against a wall. They tried to push him away, but it wasn't doing anything. He had them pinned, and everyone saw the scene about to unfold. Issei, calm, you want to have this conversation, so be it. First off, I'm not your friend, so don't think for a second I'm even going to be chummy with you at all. Second, even try and be my friend, I'll send you to the hospital, understood? They were shocked that he'd changed and couldn't process the thoughts of what he was saying. He dropped them and continued to walk to class like nothing happened. He sat down in class and everyone just looked at him. He put it off and went to his desk and got ready for class to start. Some of the girls started to admire Issei. He made such a change they couldn't help but admire him. Towards the end of the day, Issei was busy packing up and Kiba came into the class. The girls swooned and screamed as he walked in, and he walked to Issei. Kiba, you know why I'm here. Issei, yup, let's go then. The two left, leaving the school shocked by their interaction. They walked and made some small talk that no one would understand. Kiba, so you him? Issei, that's right. Kiba, you know we were scared to hell and back looking for you, but I'm not surprised, not one bit. Issei, I did it purposely. I didn't want anyone on my tail. I still didn't know what I was doing. Kiba, well, let's see how later today goes then. Issei, sure. They walked in relative silence till they met the others with Sona's peerage. Kiba, well, here he is. They looked towards Kiba and Issei was behind him. They all looked confused to see Issei. Then it started to click. They realized Issei had been the person they had been looking for this whole time. Akino, oh my, I didn't expect this. How are you, Issei? Issei, I'm alright, thanks. A bit of a rough night last night, but it's alright. Sona, well, regardless, it's nice to see you in the flesh. Issei, so I know that I'm fighting Ria's whole peerage, but don't find me rude, but why are you here, Sona? Sona, observation, it's not every day when a devil king, let alone Lucifer himself, has a new pawn and was trained by him. Issei, fair enough. Saji, I'm a dragon too, dude, we're dragon brothers. Issei, sweet. He covered his arms and legs in scales, and he stopped hiding his magic power, and they all went on high alert. His raw power was almost suffocating the others. It didn't even feel like a normal devil was standing in front of them, but something different. Saji paled, I'm already behind. Issei de drag. They heard the dragon's voice come out of the gauntlet that they could all hear. Issei, how many boosts can I use before I collapse? Start stretching. D-drag, 4 with no strain, pushing 6 maximum. You have been improving the limit daily, but you should be fine. Issei, right now then let's get going. I want some sword practice. Kiba pulled out a sword from the air and took a stance. Issei made a sword of scales and took position. Riaz, before you start, let's set a barrier to keep things under wraps. Sona agreed. They cast a spell and they watched the dome cover the whole school. Riaz, the whole school is now a battlefield, and don't worry about breaking anything. Issei grins, perfect. His eyes started to glow green and the scales all over his body started to move and changed shape from how it was before, and some scales grew around his eyes and horns started to poke out of his head. Both of them stood still and waited for either one to make the first move. They saw a leaf fall between them, and once it touched the ground, they dashed towards each other. Sparks flung from the swords, and they watched as Issei won the clash by pushing Kiba back a lot and then started his attack on Kiba. Kiba noticed his footwork and could keep up with Issei's speed. He tried to parry the attack, but then his sword was knocked out of his hand and knocked over, and Issei stood above him with the sword pointed at his neck. Kiba, surprised, damn, you're fast. Issei, thanks, not too bad yourself. Sona, he seems to be moving fast, but remember, he didn't boost himself yet. Saji, how much does one boost do? Akino, depends on, it hasn't been cleared yet for us, but has been said to either be 10 times more power with each boost or 100 times. No one has had a definite answer about it yet. Riaz, he was the one who attacked the fallen in the area. They all looked at him when she said that. Issei, helping Kiba up, yay, they tried to kill me a while back and I wanted revenge, making that bitch that tried to end me scream for mercy, and I slowly broke her, was better than any birthday present. Kiba, then does that mean you have the rings? Issei, yup, keeping them safe till Riaz has a member that can use them. Sona, why not give it to one of my members instead? Issei, my master's orders, so you want them to have a chat with him. Sona, I see, understandable. Riaz, Kaneko, you're up next. Kaneko, She stood in front of him with her cat gloves on. Issei, what is she? Riaz, she's my rook. Issei, Marit strength fight it is. They watched his scales again, and both Riaz and Sona watched as they changed shape again. They looked more rigid and even sharper, and his horns got larger than before. He took a fighting stance and Kaneko rushed him and tried to him in the chest. He dogged each of her punches and ducked under her kicks as she landed. He used his tail to grab her leg and fling her into the air and then met her midair and then knocked her down into the ground, taking her out. Kaneko, ouch. She got up and dusted herself off. Issei landed again and shook his head. They could even see the scales starting to adjust and become darker, and his horns became what looked like full length. Is something wrong? They all looked concerned, seeing him look like he was in serious pain. Issei, holding head, dragon instincts. You saw the fallen I left behind. I need a second or two to calm down before it kicks in and I go buck wild and kill you. They all looked concerned that he would end up killing them if he wasn't in control. Take your time, it's all right. He dropped the scales and they saw the markings it left on his arms. He sat in place and tried to control his breathing. They felt the magic signature spike incredibly from low class to at least mid-class level to low-high class within seconds, then came back to a low class again. Sona, that is amazing. You seem to be transitioning from low class to mid-class devil power, even peaking at high class. Issei, They watched as he slowed down. His breathing brought out the scales and then stood up. Issei, all right, I'm ready. Momo, hey, how often does that happen? Seems like a real inconvenience in a real fight. Issei, whenever I fight, I use it to help keep my emotions in check and to always remain calm in any situation because it could get me or others killed. My brother seems to be training you well. Issei, he slammed me into the ground too many times to count and nearly broke my arms multiple times. They all looked at him confused. Confused, you're actually going 1-to-1 against my brother. Sona, confused, and you're still alive. Issei, yay, I managed to knock him down once, then he flung me into the roof and that was the end of our last match. He dragged me to Grafia and let her heal me. Aquino, then why are you fighting us? It wouldn't make a difference in anything. You're going against one of the strongest forces devils have. Issei, fighting one person constantly will start to make patterns in fighting style and then I'll be too predictable for smarter opponents that have that fighting drive in them and read body movements. Kaneko, but yet you still fought the Devil King and lived. Issei, oh well, Aquino, you ready? She stood forward and nodded. Aquino, yes, let's do this. She stood ready and so did Issei. They saw his armor change again and then he took a fighting stance. He dogged her lighting that came down from the sky and then made a beeline for her, then just tackled her and pinned her to the ground, holding her arms above her head so she couldn't move. She smiled with a light blush at him. Issei, smart, but you're going to need to try better than that. Aquino, smiling, fair enough. He helped her up and then he dropped the armor and went back to looking like he was human and even like he had no magic at all. Do you always hide your signature? Issei, yes, look how long I managed to keep it hidden and you didn't even pick up on it after I came back to school after a month. Sona, you had us worried that you were evil actually, but that reminds me I need a written letter as to why you were gone for the past month. Issei, I was abandoned so I was dealing with that. You can go to my brother Issei, I'll see you for dinner. Issei, alright then, see you guys around. He opened a magic circle and it took him to the underworld, leaving them in the overworld, leaving the two peerages behind. Sona, you'll see him for dinner. Kaneko, yeah, why will you be seeing him for dinner? I'm at home this week so I didn't know. He moved in and lives with my family now. This shocked all of them. Kaneko, that's some very interesting news. Aquino, so when you said you had a rough night and he also said he had a rough night, you mean? For some unknown reason mother put Issei in my room. He was sleeping when I arrived and then when I saw him in my bed I attacked him. All of them had to hold in a laugh. Sona, what happened after that? Light blush, mother said just share a room with him for tonight and they'll sort out some arrangements for him, so after apologizing to him we slept on the opposite ends of the bed. They had to hold a laugh again. Light blush, please just drop the topic, it's not the time. Aquino, looks like your mother is trying to get you with Issei and the whole school already believes it. You know I can't do that, things already aren't looking good for me. With Issei in the underworld. He met Sirzechs and Grafia in the living room waiting for him. Issei, yo. He sat down and the two adults looked at him as he sat down in the chair. Sirzechs, Issei, how was the sparring match? Issei got their fighting skills now to just improve on it and make it work for me. What did you guys do for the day? He looked at them and Grafia looked worried and shy at the same time while Sirzechs was his usual self. Sirzechs looked at Grafia and smiled. He looked at her and she looked away, but she had a small smile and a blush on her face. Issei, I don't get it. Sirzechs, we found out she's pregnant again. Issei's mind shattered and a smile appeared on his face. He pulled the two of them into a hug and they hugged him back and couldn't help but smile as well. Issei, guys, this is amazing news. I'll be there to help with anything you need me to help with. Just say the word and I am there, but who else knows? Sirzechs, you currently, but it is tonight's surprise. I plan to make an announcement to the family over dinner. Issei thinking, does this make me a brother or uncle? Sirzechs, I would believe it makes you uncle. They all smiled and chuckled a bit. Issei, I'm great with kids. You can count on me to babysit for you guys. Grafia, it would be much appreciated, but I am home most of the time anyways, so it wouldn't be too difficult for me. Issei, doesn't matter, I'm there. Smiles. They both smiled. Later that night, Riaz came home and changed into casual clothing and heard a small explosion. Walked to the training room and found Grafia watching the fighting. She looked and saw Issei and Sirzechs fighting each other and both landing hits on each other at high speeds, covering each other in blood with each hit that was landed. What stood out more was his armor yet again looked different and his horns were on full show. Riaz, wow, he wasn't kidding, he really does fight my brother during training. Grafia, Lady Riaz, how are you today? Riaz, I'm alright actually. I still want to choose whom I want to marry, but that's a topic for another day sadly. Grafia, did you see him today? Riaz, yes, and he wants to bump up the date so he can just marry me already. She stood and crossed her arms under her bust and looked sad. It was common knowledge among the older members of the family about Riaz's engagement to another family. Grafia, I'm sure you'll figure it out. Riaz, I hope so. Grafia, given that you want to call it off even more now, does that mean there is another interest at hand? Riaz, light blush, what no? Grafia, well, like I said, I'm sure you can come up with something to call it off. Boom. They watched Issei get blown into a wall. His armor became dense and his teeth sharper. He took off at a greater speed, and then she heard a word boost come from Issei, and then he landed a hit on Sirzechs, knocking him down a bit. Then Sirzechs retaliated with a spin kick covered with his power of destruction coating his leg. Riaz, how many boosts is he on? Grafia, that would be his 7th on. Riaz, he told us he can only handle 6 before he collapses. Grafia, how do you think he got 6? This is how he pushed himself in his last attack. Then Sirzechs attacks him with an ever so slight increase of his power. He gets blasted down and they call it. Neither of them gets extremely hurt in the end, just Issei gets super tired. But today something happened. Issei's battle instincts hit sooner and he's been fighting since. Riaz, he nearly went wild when he fought Kaneko, but he managed to pull it back. Grafia, well, it's been more violent since he's gone wild, but I suppose this is good for him. As she said this, she saw Issei get knocked down and slammed back into the ground and his armor shattered, and then he called it. Issei, tired, let's go, I made 7. Sirzechs, your fighting has improved. I as well believe you could be classified as a mid-class devil very soon. Issei, tired, awesome. He collapsed and passed out. Sirzechs then took him by his legs and dragged him to Grafia and Riaz. Grafia, question, how many boosts did he use on your peerage? Riaz, none. She looked, thinking about how he did it with ease and thought about how fast he'd gotten. Grafia, then he surpassed them. I think a training session with all of them can help greatly for you all. You could be getting weaker with basic training. Riaz, you're right, I'll ask over dinner. They looked at Issei and Sirzechs again, and Sirzechs was dragging a sleeping Issei towards them. Sirzechs, Sirzechs, he seems tired. Sirzechs, he'll be alright, he just needs to replenish some energy, and he'll be alright after his bath. We'll see you at dinner. The woman nodded, and then they went their separate ways. Later at the dinner table, they all sat down and the food was brought to them. Sirzechs, family, Grafia, and I have an announcement. Venelana, what is it, my child? Sirzechs, Grafia is pregnant and we're going to have a baby. It shocked those who didn't know. Issei just stood up and gave them both a hug again, congratulating them. Then Venelana and Sirzechs both came to them to congratulate them. The Riaz came and congratulated them as well. Issei, well mother, it looks like your family is getting bigger like you wanted. Vinalana, smiling, yes, I get to have my first grandchild. Hyoudou, I just feel even older now, but this is amazing news, my children. After an amazing dinner, Riaz and Issei went to their room and nothing had changed. They both stood side by side and then looked at the bedroom and then at each other. Issei, be real with me now, do have an issue sharing a bed? I don't have any issue with it, honestly. Riaz, not in particular, it was alright, and this morning sure it was different, I'm not entirely against it. Issei, if you are alright with it and I have no issues with it, then we can just continue like this. They nodded, got into bed and lay next to each other. He turned off the light and the two of them just lay there in silence. Riaz, hey Issei. Issei, yay. Riaz, what would you do if you couldn't get out of something that you don't want to happen? Issei, well, I would fight my out if I have to, but it honestly depends on the situation. You can't always fight something in the end, but there is always something that you can do to change the outcome. Not everything is set in stone. Life always changes when we least expect it. She climbed on top of him and looked down at him. Issei, confused, what are you do? She kissed him and when she pulled away, she spoke. Riaz, tearing up, please take my virginity. Once they know I'm ruined, then I can be set free. She started moving her hands to his member, then he turned the tables on her, held her down in the bed and looked down at her. Issei, serious, I'm not doing this. If I'm going to do something like that, I want it out of love, not to try and change something when there is a possible other way to do it. Now take a deep breath and tell me what's going on. He let go of her and turned the light back on, then sat down in front of her. She rested her head on her knees, crying a bit. He came closer and gently brought her hands into his. She looked up at him with tears in her eyes and just cried more and came closer and cried in his chest. Riaz, crying, I was engaged to someone as a child and I hate him. He only objectifies women and he's not the type of man I want to marry. The only reason he wants to marry me is that I'm next in line to rule over the Gremorys clan. I have no say in the matter and I've tried everything but nothing works. It's a useless battle. He stroked the back of her head and tried to calm her down. Issei, I'm sure you can come up with a solution. I know you can. From what I've heard, you are super smart. Now take a deep breath and then think about it all. There has to be something you haven't tried yet. She pulled away and nodded. He cupped her face and used his thumbs to wipe away her tears. Issei, now no more sad tears, only happy tears, okay? She had a trembling smile and nodded. Issei, now let's go and sleep, all right? He let her lay down and he laid down next to her and she just held on to him and rested her head on his chest. Issei got comfortable and let her get comfy around him and then slowly fell asleep with her in his arms. The next morning was the start of the weekend, so it was his break days, so he didn't need to train over the weekend. He watched Riaz sleep in his arms and looked how peaceful she looking sleeping next to him. She actually happy. She then slowly opened her eyes and saw him watching her. Riaz, morning. Issei, morning, how are you feeling now? Riaz, better, thanks for last night. I wasn't in the right state of mind last night. Issei, it's alright, unexpected but alright. Riaz, well, I need to go and get done. I'm going to see him again this morning. Issei, well, good luck with that. Riaz, before I go, can I stay here for 5 more minutes, please? Issei, sure, make yourself comfortable. Riaz, content, you have no idea how comfy and warm you are to sleep next to. Issei, well, it's the first that I'm even with a girl like this, so I really wouldn't know. Riaz, Issei, so you kissed me last night. Do I take it as a good sign or am I way off? Riaz, smiling, a good sign, but don't get any funny ideas. Issei, smiling, whatever you say. After 5 minutes, she let go and got dressed. Issei just took his phone and looked at it. It's been a while since he last looked at it. He saw the music group showing the songs they agreed with. He sent a thumbs up and said sorry for not replying sooner. He had some things come and needed to get them sorted out. Then he saw a message from someone he didn't expect. Mom, Issei, where are you? We are worried. Please talk to me. He grew angry with the message and Riaz saw his expression change. Riaz, everything okay? Issei, I wouldn't know. My ex-mother wants to know where I am. She's worried apparently. Riaz, given why you're here, I think you don't need to tell them anything. They left you, so you cut ties with them. Issei, couldn't have said it any better myself. After she finished getting dressed, she looked towards Issei and he looked back up at her. Riaz, well, hopefully things go well this morning. Issei, good luck. Before she left, she smiled and nodded and then left. Issei then took a deep breath and then noticed that where the gems were normally with his armor, it was circles. Issei Hyoudou changed again. Drake, take it as a sign of growth. You're getting stronger fast, and it's a good sign you'll be able to protect your loved ones after all. Issei, that's the plan, man. Let's go see Sirzechs to see if he has anything for me to do for today. He got out of bed and got dressed. He had on a red top with black cargo pants and some boots. He then went and met Grafia in the dining room eating some breakfast, and Sirzechs was the one making her breakfast. Issei didn't peg you for the guy who can cook. Sirzechs, just barely, but it's just to make sure she doesn't do all the work. Issei, look at you being an amazing husband, even if she insists that she must cook. Grafia, he really doesn't want me to overwork myself. Sirzechs, you are not going to strain yourself. I refuse for you to do all the work. Issei, I know you being a dad and everything, but it would only affect her after a few months. The baby is just a ball of cells at this point, you know, but yesterday you told me again. Did something happen? Grafia looks down in sadness. Sirzechs, you see, a few years ago we tried, and her overstressing and working led to a miscarriage, and we didn't try again and didn't tell anyone on her request. Issei, then how can I help? I'm on break days, so no training today and tomorrow, but even so tell me and I'll help out. Sirzechs, it's alright. She is going to observe Ria's for a meeting today. I would like you to keep the other person within some boundaries for me, please. Issei, her fiancé. Both of them looked at each other and then back at him with shocked and confused expressions because they knew no one told him about it yet. Sirzechs, she told you. Issei, yeah, things nearly went wrong last night before we slept, so I helped her calm down, and then she felt better and more confident when she left this morning, but questioned why get her engaged so young. She said it happened when she was a kid. Sirzechs, yes, we wanted an engagement, but currently it is more about how it went down and who went for it. Suitors need to meet a certain requirement, and currently her current fiancé is the only one who stepped up, and he's beaten every other suitor to come and oppose him. Issei, interesting. What happens to the guy that wins? Sirzechs, he gets her hand in marriage, but I wanted that plan to be the last resort. Issei, plan. Sirzechs, to have someone fight on her behalf and beat him and get her out of it. Issei, I can do it if you want. Sirzechs. In the overworld, Rias and her peerage sat waiting for her fiancé to arrive. Then a magic circle opened up and both Issei and Grafia came through the circle. Rias, Grafia, Issei, why are you here? Grafia, I'm here to stand as a medium for you and Riser Phoenix. Issei, I'm just here to make sure she doesn't overwork herself and be around so no one gets hurt, so ignore me for the day. Ria's heart started to beat fast that Issei was here. She couldn't explain why, but she felt calmer with him around. Issei just went to go and stand in the corner while Grafia stood patiently for Riser to arrive. Just then a magic circle appeared and a man with blonde hair arrived in the club room. Riser, it is I, Riser Phoenix. You have been blessed by my graces. Issei. Riser fixed his shirt and then went to sit next to Ria's. She pulled away, but he pulled her closer to him and started to play with her thigh. Issei, sit on the other end of the table. Riser, and who are you to tell me what to do? Grafia was about to speak, and Issei held his hand out to tell her to stop. Issei only slowly released his magic signature, and his teeth started to get sharper, and his overall bloodlust started to make everyone besides Grafia uncomfortable. Issei, Sirzechs pawned the Red Dragon Emperor, and I was given permission to kick your ass if you step out of line. Now move or ill make you understand. Riser felt the threat from him. He then left Ria's and sat on the other side of the table to not cause any fights. Issei, good. He then went back to the corner he was in and watched. Rias, Riser, I have a proposition for you. Riser, and what would that be? Rias, a rating game between my peers and yours. I win, we call it off, and you win, the engagement stays. Riser just started chuckling. Riser, please, you couldn't win. He snapped his fingers and his peerage came out from flames. Riser, as you can see, I have a full peerage while you don't. Blonde girl, how you can't fight my brother's peerage, little girl. Issei just flashed his aura and shut her up. They all looked at him with fear written on their faces. Issei, your kings are talking, shut it. They all physically took a step back, including Ria's peerage, and let them talk. Issei continued to let his power linger around the room. The only person who wasn't affected was Grafia, who was impressed by how well he was keeping things under control. Riaz, well, it's the only offer I'll have to give that is still possible to even do, even outnumbered. Riser, I agree to your challenge then, but when I win, I want to be married the next day. Riaz agreed. Grafia, then in the next 2 weeks you shall both partake in a raiding game, and you have 2 weeks to train. Do both parties agree? Both, yes. Grafia, then it's settled, we will see you in 2 weeks. Riser, fine, but no trade-ins or borrows. He looked towards Issei and smirked. Grafia, that is the base terms of a raiding game. He nodded and left with his peerage with a wall of fire. Issei could have gone better. Kaneko, how did you scare a high-ranking devil? Issei Hyoudou told me about mutated pawn pieces or something like that, so I have more power than I should or something along those lines, I don't know. Akino, Riaz, are you sure we can win? Riaz, it's a 50-50 chance. There is a high chance that he won't train his members and they won't be as ready as we can be. Grafia, do as you see fit. Issei, are you going to stay or are you going to come along? Issei, I'll catch up with you. I'm curious to see the game plan between the 4 of them. Grafia, so be it. Issei, before you go, if I hear you started cleaning, we going to have problems, understand? Grafia, yes, I know, no hard work. Issei, good. She left Bode and left. He walked closer to them and pulled back his power, and he saw them start to relax. Issei, so what is your plan? Nothing against you guys but you all, but I took you all out and didn't even boost my power. Riaz, we going to honestly need to train like there's no tomorrow. There's no other way to say it in the end. We need to get to work. Issei, then I wish you luck. You guys are going to need it. Riaz, Issei, knowing your skills in fighting my brother and getting a few hits on him, do you mind helping us train, please? With your help, it could prove beneficial for all of us. He could see it in her eyes. She was desperate to get stronger and to win, and he wasn't going to let her feel like she didn't try. Issei, sure, why not? I got nothing else going on, plus no offense, but you guys, I almost perfected your fighting styles in less than a day, so I can help train you up a bit in those terms. They nodded with determined faces. They left, leaving Riaz alone with Issei. He looked at her and her bangs covered her eyes. He couldn't make out her facial expression at all. He stood looking at her. He noticed how she was clenching her hands in frustration. Then she ran to him and hugged him and buried her face in his chest. Nothing was said. He wrapped his arms around her and gave her a hug, and they stayed like that for a few moments. He looked at her face, and he could see she was fighting back the tears. He wiped the ones that got past her and cupped her face. Issei, breath, everything's going to be alright, okay, I promise. She nodded, and then he took them back home. Once they got home, he made her lay down, and then she fell asleep. He then left the room and found Venelana waiting for him. Venelana, how is she, my son? Issei, she's going to need a lot of support in the next few days, mother. She's drained. Going like this isn't good for anyone, not just her. Venelana, she does have my support, but on my behalf, please be there for her. She acts mature, but she's just a teenager and has a lot of stress on her. Please help lift her burden off her shoulders. Issei, I'll try my best. They started walking to the living room. Issei, you excited to be a grandmother? Venelana, oh, my excitement is beyond comprehension. I wonder if they going to be like you or Sirzechs. Issei, why me? Venelana, you don't see it, but you have been shining a light on our family, and thoughts around you gave me hope for a future where my kids are safe, and my family lives on forever even after we have passed on. Issei, but I haven't done anything to deserve it, yet I'm far from it, let alone worthy of that praise. Venelana, you'll see that as a promise, smiles. Issei, then we can only hope and see what the future unfolds. Venelana, I was told that your mother contacted you. How do you feel about it? Issei, frustrated, but I'm calm. I ignored it. Venelana, well, remember they left you. No matter how much begging they will and can do can all be done in vain, and they will break your trust again and leave you alone again. Issei, that's what I'm scared of. What if they break my walls and I believe them and I get hurt again? For once I'm actually enjoying life for a change, and I don't want to let this life go. I've enjoyed being part of your family. I wouldn't change it for anything else. Venelana, then you've made your choice. You know what you want, and don't let anyone change it, my child. Issei, will do. Issei, I do have a question for you. Mother Riaz explained that she was engaged when she was very young. I am confused as to why. Venelana, you see, my child, it's a good thing to do it when they are young and with weekly meetings from that day forward, so they start to get more used to each other. It has a 60% success rate, but there are 3 variables that change the rating. Issei, and what's that? Venelana, the first is simply makes them look human. You see, if they do spend time together and they don't like each other, they can call it off, but it needs to be a mutual thing. The second one is when a different suitor wants the girl in particular, and they need to fight in front of both the family to see if the bond is strong enough. If the first suitor wins, then the engagement stays, but if he loses, then the engagement goes to the victor of the battle. Issei, interesting, starting to make sense for what Zech explained to me. Venelana, the third is if the girl has a different suitor in mind, but her family needs to meet him and judge his character, and if he fits the standard, then he can go and fight the current suitor, and if he wins, then he gets her hand in marriage, but nothing stops the previous suitor to keep engaging till they are actually married. Issei, now it's starting to make sense. I'm assuming you also do it to bring families together to form alliances and merge armies and such. Venelana nodded in agreement. They met Sirzechs, and Issei explained about what happened and what he was going to do to help them, and he was given permission from Sirzechs, and they shook on it. Sirzechs, remember the plan if all else fails. Venelana, what are my two sons plotting him? They looked at her, and Issei just had a smile with a determined smile on his face. They explained the plan if all else failed because it looked unlikely. Venelana started to gain a smile. Chapter end.